Yeah. Hawa. Ampetu waste wanagi. Hey, Pura Vida family. Thanks for tuning in. I'm actually live right now. I haven't been live in a while. Because usually when I go live, YouTube be messing with me, man, really hard. So, yeah, today I was like, just want to be able to talk to you guys about certain things. I get a lot of comments, a lot of questions. And so I'm taking advantage of it being so-called Halloween today, right? We don't celebrate that stuff really. But when it comes down to Tituba, right? She was called a witch, right? People dress up as witches and stuff in Halloween. And Salem witch trials is actually pretty popular, right? A pretty popular thing. Halloween is pretty big in Salem, Massachusetts. I've been there. Pretty crazy. They got like these old churches, these old buildings still. There's this black building, looks like an old church, Gothic. It has like this gargoyles and stuff right outside, and the doors are chained up. It's weird there still, and no said, But just wanted to take advantage and go over the video that I did about Tituba, right? She was an Arawak Indian. For a lot of new people that have not seen this video. Also, take the opportunity after the video to discuss certain things, questions and topics that people bring up. All right, wanted to discuss it with you guys live and possibly give you the opportunity to call in or ask some questions and stuff. So that's what we're going to get into today. So right away, we're going to get into the Tituba video. Hope you guys enjoy that. All right, I will be doing my little side commentary. Right, again, this is a about 2 or 3 year old video that I did. So a lot of the information, I might have, been missing. We all learning. we keep learning. So I like to add things here and there just in case, make sure we're dodging the hijack big time. All right. Hey, much love and respect to everybody in the chat. I appreciate everybody that tunes in. I hope you guys have been enjoying the presentation. I just want to explain also a little bit. I have a lot of new subscribers. So the last 2 months, I've been kind of trying to get everybody on the same kind of, at least with the information, caught up with the information that we've gone over before. So I did kind of like split some of the old videos into specific topics. Made them a little shorter because some of the videos are like 2 or 3 hours long, 4 hours, and I know a lot of you don't got the time or will make the time. It's okay, I understand. I do the same with certain videos on YouTube. I just say I don't got time, but I did that also because the little fiasco that happened. I got a lot of new Pan-Africans kind of looking over here. We're gonna address that later on a little bit too, and so I wanted to go ahead and just do a little recap of some of the older videos and add some new info to it and make it more detailed and specific. So I hope you guys have been enjoying that. Again, shout out to all the music producers. All right, especially Vizo Breeze. I've been using a lot of his beats. He sent me a whole bunch. All right, way back. So again, shout out to Vizo Breeze. My fault if I'm murdering the name, brother. And all the rest of the producers who have sent me music, thank you as well. And anytime you hear the beat in the background, know that I appreciate you, all right, for doing that and contributing in that way, so we don't get copyrights and stuff like that, so we don't give YouTube excuses, to give us copyrights and all that. Try to get as original as we can, and appreciate you guys. All right, so I appreciate all the good comments. I appreciate the credit. What is it called? The constructive criticism, right, that I receive. But I will be addressing some of the bad, just pseudo hate comments, later on. So again, we're in so-called Halloween. So what we talking about? Witches, Salem witches. For all you new people who have not watched my Tituba video, this is gonna be a big treat for you. All right. She wasn't African at all. All right, let me prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you right now. You ready? I'm going to prove it to you right now. Shout out to all the loved ones. Shout out to the haters too. And here we go.
Tituba, you want for me, I make you. I create you best to wear. I put you way up high in the air. You go fly back home to us. And I think not tell you lie. You come to me. Stormy night, like say, Tituba.
All right, now we're in Wikipedia. All right, as you see, it says Tituba was an enslaved woman owned by Samuel Parris of Danvers, Massachusetts. Although her origins are debated, they're debated, right? Research has suggested that she was a South American native. If you actually do research, you'll see that she was actually a South American native and sailed from Barbados to New England with Samuel Parris. Tituba was the first to be accused of practicing witchcraft during the 1692 Salem witch trials. Little is known regarding Tituba's life prior to her enslavement. However, she became a pivotal figure in the witch trials when she confessed to witchcraft, while also making claims that both Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne participated in said witchcraft. She was imprisoned and later released by Samuel Conkling, but little to nothing is known about Tituba's life following her subsequent release. Alright, so this is the image that Wikipedia has of Tituba, and it's actually a historical image drawn from some famous sketch they did, I guess, back in those times. Just want you to notice the 2 feathers on her head, right? The 2 feathers. She's an American Indian. See how they try to make her look like a witch, right? Says here, early life and accusations against her. Tituba's husband was John Indian. All right, that's we're gonna read. That's false. All right, it might have been her nephew or actually a family member or somebody from her tribe. A Native American man, a Native American man whose origins are unknown, but he may have been from Central America. Tituba as well may have been originally from Central America before Barbados. There are arguments made that Tituba was African American, but this has been contradicted by historians. All right, it's contradicted because there's another truth, including Elaine Bresla, who partially blames Charles Upham, who got false information from Samuel Drake for the confusion. Possibly she was born in Barbados, but regardless, she was a descendant of captives on the island. Her husband went on to become one of the accusers in the witch trial. They appear documented together in Samuel Parris Church record book. All right, we're in this website fandom. It says here Salem Wiki. All right, talking about Tituba. This is a depiction right from the show. All right, and just go down here real quick. It says early life. It says originally from the Arawak tribe. Tituba was born and raised in a South American village before she was abducted from her homeland and sold into slavery. All right, so who was being sold into slavery? In American India. Tituba explained how the Europeans invaded her village and
All right, we gotta stop it. They might give me a copyright for that one right there with that footage.
she not have been a child. All right, so we're in this website called New England Folklore, a blog, right, site, and it says, how did Tituba become black? Tituba is one of the key figures in the Salem witch trials, a slave owned by Reverend Parris of Salem Village. She was one of the first people accused of being a witch. She was also one of the first people to accuse others of witchcraft while she was on the stand. I think it's well known these days that ethnically, Tituba was an Arawak Indian. All right, so is it well known these days? Is this a true statement? Did you guys know, honestly, that Tituba, or the so-called slave or Negro woman that was accused of being a witch, that basically was forced to admit or that she was a witch and blame others as well for witchcraft, was an Arawak Indian? Did you know that? Is this well known these days? Reverend Parris and his family had lived as plantation owners for many years in the Caribbean, the Arawak homeland. It seems likely that Parrises purchased Tituba and her husband John as slaves while living in Barbados. Although historians know that Tituba was an Indian, pop culture tends to portray her as being of African descent. Pop culture, it's not real. Pop culture tends to portray her as being African descent. It's not real, it's just pop culture. All right, she was an Indian. For example, on the TV show Salem, Tituba was played by a black actress and speaks with a Caribbean accent. For many years, I also thought she was black, based on what I had learned when I was a kid. History of Massachusetts blog, all right?
All right. So you're into so you're into pop culture, huh? Calling people African Americans, right? They're not African. All right, address the information, the genealogy of people. Stop giving me your opinions.
Or .org says Tituba, the slave of Salem. Right, it says Tituba was a slave who worked for Samuel Parris during the Salem witch trials of 1692. The various documents and books about the Salem witch trials over the years often refer to Tituba as a black or mixed race. But the actual court documents from her trial refer to her as an Indian woman servant. All right, we're not talking about slave, we're talking about an indentured servant. Remember? All right, let's not forget that. We got the past videos already. All right, she was an Indian woman servant. Tituba's early life, it says here, not much is known about Tituba's life except that she was born in an Arawak village in South America, where she was captured during her childhood and taken to Barbados as a slave. So again, who are these Europeans enslaving or putting into servitude? Not Africans. All right, they're taking whole villages. She's one of them. All right, and they're bringing them to Barbados. All right, this is the 1600s, and they keep telling us that these are Africans arriving in Barbados, these so-called Negroes.
All right. So I just want to add, if you guys have been following along, I did my pearls video recently and all the Indian slavery videos. If you guys have caught it in the last 2 months, I did a couple. so you guys can understand that this relates and correlates with what we learned there. You know, they were going to grab the pearl divers. These were Lucayans that had ended up there and mixing with Arawaks who were already there doing pearl diving. These were the people they were sending to Barbados. These were the first Barbadian, so-called Negro and Indian they brought, or Negro and Carib they brought, but it was coming from that region where they also were grabbing, Tituba and her people from. Right, so it's the same kind of information here. Let's continue.
Well, she's so-called black, right? They just said it as black, so-called black. All right. So again, we're just gonna keep repeating things over and over, and you're gonna see it's all leading to one truth. Paris or an associate later purchased her in Barbados when she was a teenager and brought her to Boston in 1680. In November of 1689, Samuel Paris moved Tituba and his family to Salem after he was appointed the new minister of Salem village. All right, now we're about to go into this book. It's called Tituba of Salem Village. All right, check it out. Tituba of Salem Village. See how they draw her right here? All right, this is the cover of the book. Again, Tituba of Salem Village by Anne Petrie. And it begins right here, right in chapter 1 of this book. All right, it says, there was nothing to indicate to the slave Tituba that this morning in November would be unlike other mornings she had known in Bridgetown. The sun was out. The island of Barbados lay like a jewel sparkling in the sea. Its yellow-white coral-encrusted coastline blazed in the brilliant light. Tituba could see part of the shoreline from the windows of Susanna Endicott's kitchen, because the house sat on the edge of Carlisle Bay, just where it made a wide inward curve. It says here, the slave John, Tituba's husband, dodged a hijack. All right, remember, Tituba means auntie, had been fishing, and he was showing her the red snappers he had caught. He had carried them to the kitchen in a big hand-woven basket. The basket was a deep, dark brown, almost as dark as his hands. As dark as his hands. So what is that? He's a Negro, right? All right, remember they said he was also an American Indian. Remember that. John the Indian, right? John the Indian, right? So he has deep, dark brown hands. And the fish as he took them out of the basket were silvery by contrast. He had covered the fish with leaves to keep them cool. Good eating, John said, holding one of the big fish up for Tituba's inspection. He was a tall, powerfully built man with broad shoulders. He wore only a pair of white cotton trousers, rolled up to the knees. He was barefooted. He leaned over the basket and then straightened up with a fluid, easy movement that made the muscles on his back ripple on the dark brown skin, He smiled, and his face, which had looked dark and severe in repose, was lightened and brightened by the smile. Tituba took one of the big fish in her hands and laughed. It feels like I was holding a long wiggle, she said, and dropped the fish in the basket. She was short compared to John, but she held herself so erect that she looked taller than she really was. Her magnificent posture was due to the fact that she liked to carry baskets balanced on her head like the market women. Her hair was completely covered by a neatly wound white turban. A turban. She was wearing a pale blue cotton dress. The sleeves were rolled above her elbows, revealing sturdy arms. The skin, a smooth, dark brown. The skin, a smooth, dark brown. Again, Tituba, the American Indian Arawak that was accused of being a witch in the Salem witch trials. Her skin is a smooth, dark brown, so-called Negro person, right? She was also barefooted too, it says. All right, so just wanted to show this real quick from this book so you can see who we're talking about. All right, so now we're in this book. It's called Tituba, Reluctant Witch of Salem. Devilish Indians. What? They're calling you devil again. Devilish Indians and Puritan Fantasies by Elaine G. Breslaw. All right, Tituba.
All right, so real quick, Rick, real quick. All right, so again, that's the hijack. They're always trying to make you into devils, make you savage. That way they can colonize, take your land, enslave you, do all the rest of the stuff, declassify you, you know. But one thing, Puritans, right? Let's not forget Puritans, Puritan, a pure person. So a lot of these pilgrims and Puritans, again, were actually crypto Jews, crypto Moors. They were Muslims or Sephardic Jews. A lot of these Puritans were so-called black people too. All right. I'm going to discuss this later on after this video. Let's go.
Now we're gonna get into part one, right? Real quick, right? It says Barbados, right? Tituba's roots in Arawak from Guyana, Guyana, Guinea, Guinea, land of the Negroes, Guyana, my own country, Tituba in Barbados, strange new world, an American Indian on a Barbados plantation. All right. So first of all, I just want to say, if you read this book, if you take the time to go look for it and read it or buy it, or whatever, you're gonna see how she actually went into the census records, historical societies in Barbados, in Massachusetts. She did very thorough investigation. All right, you got to read the introduction. You got to read all the sources that she quotes from. All right, this is real history right here. This is real research. This is not suggestions or opinions or theories. She really found out who this person was, and she knows it's an Arawak American Indian. All right, let's go read what she has to say. All right, so real quick in the introduction of the book, it says, as expected, the biographical information about Tituba in the Salem documents is very thin. Nevertheless, some important information can be extracted from these meager sources. It is clearly evident from all references in those written records that Tituba was an American Indian and not African, as later writers have assumed, and that she and her husband John, also an American Indian, were slaves living in the household of the Reverend Samuel Parris. So dodge the hijack with slaves, they were servants. There is no reference anywhere in the 17th century documents to Tituba as an African. Again, my people, all right? Again, Senada, again, Garfield. There is no reference anywhere in the
Again, Killer Priest and his goons, listen up.
17th century documents to Tituba as an African or as someone of African background, like the mythology of Tituba as a voodoo priestess. There is no indication in the extant records that either Tituba or her husband had African ancestry. None of her contemporaries saw her as an African or even someone of mixed ancestry. She was never described as black or as Negro. Nowhere in the 17th century records is there so much as a hint that she was of an even partial African descent. Thus, there should be no question of her ancestry. All of her contemporaries, without exception, describe Tituba as an Indian woman or as Paris Indian servant, a servant. All right, so what does contemporaries mean? Meaning people who lived at the same time as her. So the records from those times when she was alive, real records, real historical records, all agree, all say the same thing, that Tituba was an Indian woman, right? And she was actually, unfortunately, Paris' Indian servant. Her husband John's racial ethnic background is just as clearly delineated in those records. He is always identified as Indian John or John Indian, or simply as the Indian man.
All right. So I don't know how much clearer it has to be. People got a lot of opinions. We're gonna address this later on. People got a lot of emotional opinions. People are stuck on beliefs like a religious mentality. And I get it. That's fine. You can believe whatever you like, but history, primary sources are primary sources. This ain't no, oh, the white man wrote that. How do we know it's true? The white man. Well, show me your sources. Show me the sources for what you believe in. Let's verify your sources. Are you saying that you just made everything up from your head? All your beliefs came from your own mind? Let me verify those sources. Let's continue. Tituba, Salem Witch Special, Halloween.
Gradual metamorphosis of Tituba from an Indian to an African since the 19th century is an unfortunate mistake based on embellishment. Again, Tituba from an Indian to an African since the 19th century is an unfortunate mistake based on embellishment, imagination, and a tinge of racial bias, and has been a convenient way to fill in blanks left by the absence of more substantive information. What is less clear from those 17th century commentaries is where Tituba came from, how and when Paris acquired her, and what kind of intellectual and cultural baggage she brought with her to Massachusetts. The most reasonable theory for Tituba's origins was first put forward by Charles Upham, written in the middle of the 19th century. Tituba and John were spoken of, Upham said, as having come from New Spain, that is, the Spanish West Indies, all right, New Spain, the Spanish West Indies, and the adjacent mainland. They were then sold in Barbados as slaves and subsequently brought to Massachusetts by Samuel Parris. Upham offered no direct evidence, but because a good part of his narrative was based on Samuel Drake's work, he probably made use of Drake's edition of Samuel Fuller's 1866 account of life of Samuel Parris, in which Fowler claimed that Tituba and John were natives of South America called New Spain. Tituba's roots, and Arawak from Guyana. All right, says they are spoken of as having come from New Spain, as it was then called, that is, the Spanish West Indies, and the adjacent mainland of Central and South America. Charles Upham, Salem Witchcraft. Are you hear this? In July of 1674, Captain Peter Roth, lately of Kent in England, set sail from Barbados on his sloop, Sonoy, bound for the northeast coast of South America. His mission was to locate and kidnap American Indians. What was his mission? To locate and kidnap American Indians to sell as slaves in Barbados, and as an incidental part of the trip, to trade with friendly Indians. The vessel, propelled by the easterly trade winds, sailed generally south-southwest for 300 miles past Trinidad to the Orinoco River Delta on the coast of South America. A starboard turn to a more westerly course brought them up the Orinoco to one of its tributaries, the Amacuda River, Amacuda, America, Amarucan, Amaruca River, their chosen destination. This word, America, is not from Amerigo Vespucci. That's a future video, my people. I got the whole truth.
All right. So Kurimeo, yo, we been did that video, man. Okay, so we proved it. Amaraca was a kingdom already here when the Spaniards got here. Amaru, that's a word from here. It has nothing to do with Vespucci. Check out, if you're new, check out the last month or so. We did a video on that, and all the correlation and sources, so you can go check it out. All right, so that's what Kurimeo from the past, from the the blast from the past was talking about, man. So let's continue.
His name wasn't even Amerigo, it was Albert, it was Alberigo, all right? But that's a whole different subject. I just want to show you that these words were actually already here. Sailing southeast to the Amacuda, the crew spied canoes carrying 14 Indians who were invited on board to trade. As some of the men bargained with the Indians, Rolfe decided to permit the peaceful trade. They were, he assured his ship's masters, William Price, of the wrong tribe to kidnap, probably Carib. They were protected by the English king's orders to maintain friendly relations with the enemies of the Dutch settlers. The continuing hostility between the Caribs and the Dutch in America encouraged the English monarch to woo the Carib or Carib allied tribes as potential allies in the continuing Anglo-Dutch conflict. So you see that? They left the Caribs alone during this time because they were actually helping the English, or they were at war with the Dutch, right? Too, like the English. Maybe they weren't just helping them, maybe they were just fighting for themselves, but the English liked that, so they left them alone, all right? So meaning they were actually looking for a specific tribal people, which were Arawaks. Entrepreneurs like Rolfe, encouraged by Barbados Governor Lord Willoughby and his successor in 1673, Sir Peter Colleton, to raid and spy on Dutch colonies, had seized the opportunity to kidnap Indian allies of the Dutch, particularly Arawak-related tribes. Rolfe had erred during previous escapades when he had attempted to establish a trade in Indian slaves and had captured Caribs, who were under the protection of the English king. The entrepreneur had been ordered to desist and return the captive Caribs to the South American coast. But in the summer of 1674, Rolfe was determined to find tribes that lacked sufficient European support to cause diplomatic or military reprisals. On the 2nd of August, 8 women and 2 children approached the Sonoy with more trade goods. The two were welcomed aboard. Again, Ruff consulted his crew. This time, the men agreed they had likely captives and they devised a plan to kidnap the women and children. Some of the crew were told to guard the Indians' canoes and be prepared to pursue those who resisted. Rolf grabbed the first woman and his crew seized 3 more and then the children. In the confusion, 4 women were able to jump overboard. They frantically began to swim away. Rolf, anticipating that the women would resist and familiar with the swimming ability of the local Indians, ordered his men to paddle the canoes to catch the runaways. The women swam gracefully and swiftly with heads under the water, but they were no match for the speed of the canoes. The men set off immediately, caught up with the women, and the fleeing swimmers were brought back to the sloop. Satisfied with their successes and still on the alert, the crew waited for the tide to turn. As it ebbed, the Sonoy sailed down the Amacura River northward into the Orinoco and out of the Atlantic. Within a month, they arrived back in Barbados with their booty of trade goods and 10 captive Indians to sell into slavery. Immediately upon landing in Bridgetown, the main port in Barbados, William Price, the master of the vessel, entered his deposition on September 2nd, 1674, to prove that the captured Indians were not a friendly tribe protected by any treaty. Price suggested that they were Arawak Indians or from an Arawak-related tribe known to be allied with the Dutch and therefore vulnerable to English attacks. Rolfe and Price brought their captives to Barbados to satisfy what they
So allied to the Dutch, right? All right, allied to Sephardic crypto Jews. All right, let's not forget. So these other people are going after them. They're going after the so-called Dutch too because it's Catholics versus Protestants, you know. All right, let's continue. And yeah, people got a lot of opinions. We're gonna address the opinions later after this presentation's over on Tituba. All right.
perceived as a potential market for American Indian households.
So they're grabbing American indigenous people, American Indians. They got this whole plan. They know where they're going. They're not going to Africa to capture anybody to fill in the plantations or anything. This is just some side info basically in this presentation. Again, showing who they were really enslaving, where they were going, you know. All right. So you do need slaves. You do need ships, right? You do need ships to transport people in the 1500s from South America all the way to Virginia, right? Or anywhere else in the world, right? Ships, right? They didn't, teleport, they didn't use airplanes. They don't always have to be coming from so-called Africa. Ships don't always have to be coming from that direction to be put on a ship. Right? So let's continue. Let's not confuse ourselves. We're gonna address all this later on.
Slaves. The facts that the captives were women was, therefore, no mere accident. The enterprising Peter Rolfe seemed determined to supply Indian women to substitute for the declining number of English house servants arriving on Barbados shores. All right, so what did they do to basically substitute the declining number of the English servants? They didn't get Africans. What were they planning? To get American Indian women to substitute these English house servants. The experience of those 8 women and 2 children goes far to explain Tituba's presence in Barbados. Charles Upham's report in the 19th century that according to local legend, Tituba and her husband John were spoken of as having come from New Spain, that is, the Spanish West Indies, and the adjacent mainland, is born out of the record of known slave capturing activities in South America. Peter Rolfe ventures are evidence of an existing, albeit small, slave trade, all right? Evidence of an existing, and they try to say small, but it wasn't small. We already know that, right? We got the past videos, right? So, evidence of an existing slave trade between the South American coast, identified at the time as the Spanish Main and Barbados. All right, so the Spanish were bringing what? American Indians. They had a slave trade going on, a real slave trade going on here, all right, with American Indians, all right, from the Spanish mainland and Barbados. It is there on the northeast coast of South America, in present-day Venezuela, that Tituba, the Indian slave woman, probably had her beginnings. Within a few years of the arrival of
All right, Venezuela, not Africa. Venezuela. Let's stay on topic. All right, let's stay on topic. We're gonna address all that later. Don't have to put people on timeout.
the English, a small group of Arawaks had been persuaded to move to Barbados from the Guiana coast of South America to teach the islanders how to grow appropriate crops. Man, over and over, you see how your ancestors, the ancestors, helped these Europeans survive, right? So again, who did they bring over to help them grow crops? Not Africans. What did they do? They went to the Guyana coast, Guyana, Guinea, Guyana. All right.
All right. So who's going to the Guyana coast? Guinea coast, South America? Spaniards and Portuguese, right? These are mostly cryptos. We're talking about Moors. Since you want to bring up Moors, don't want to bring up Moors right now when we're talking about people enslaving American Indians, because we're talking about the same people you're putting up in a high pedestal. We know the greatness. People are people, though. This is a more on more war, if you want to call it that, when we're talking about complexion, right? Is that what are we talking about? All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's right now we're talking about Tituba, right? Where she's really coming from, right? She was labeled a witch. She was labeled so-called African, you know. She was an Arawak Indian. This was going on. This is real history. This book has so much primary sources. What are we really debating here? What are we really discussing? Right? Let's stop pointing fingers. Let's stop putting ourselves in high pedestals. Like, we all got our stories. There's a bigger past to everything. And you got hundreds and thousands of grandparents, not just one. Okay? We're gonna continue with the two, but we're gonna address all this. So stay tuned. Might get interesting.
Wordplay here. There's a little wordplay here going on. We have to dig on that. All right. Land of the Negroes. The land of Negroes on the coast of South America to teach the islanders how to grow appropriate crops. American Indians subsequently enslaved. Those Arawaks were by the 1650s either dead or they and their descendants had been returned to the mainland. Thereafter, until the 1660s, Indian slaves, when acquired, were usually a result of warfare with the other Europeans in the West Indies. During the 17th century, the intricacies of British policy vis-a-vis the Spanish, French, and Dutch had dictated which Caribbean Indians were most vulnerable to capture and enslavement. Sporadically, as hostilities among the European rivals rose and fell during the 17th century, Amerindian captives, all right, Amerindian captives, not Africans, were brought from Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Dominica to Barbados and enslaved. All right, so you see, Amerindian captives, not Africans.
Oh, blue screen, blue screen.
Of the slave trade in that area of the West Indies and the structure of Anglo-Dutch relations, it seems reasonable to conclude that Tituba and most of other Amerindian slaves living in Barbados during the 16th.
Yeah, nobody's really dividing anybody by just explaining history correctly. Again, nobody's about division. We're just reading books, primary sources. This is just truth, right? It's not about debating. It's not about my opinions or my theories. All right, so nobody's dividing anybody. All right, we tend to give uh that's what you guys call pale skin too much history. You guys are the same ones saying the whole world was dark. All right, so don't try to divide that history either. Again, more and more war. Yeah, they're talking about Spaniards, Moors, enslaving American Indians who were also dark complexioned people. Yeah, and nobody's talking about anybody being blonde, blue eyes, but you gotta have an open mind because you see the Malaysians over there, and those are so-called black people too. A lot of them have blue eyes and blonde hair, you know. So just keep an open perspective because this is the true old world. We had almost every type of phenotype, type of hair. We had all the many types of hair. the copper color races, right? Copper comes from very dark to light copper. That's the reason they use the word copper, because it describes many tones of that copper and complexions, right? So yeah, when we talk about now pale skin, now when we talk about what we see today as white, that's a whole different thing. But there was light skinned people over here too. There was light skinned tribes too. There's a whole tribe called the Caramel Indians in the East Coast. All right, you guys got to really start with the whole. It's not based on colors. That's crayon colored perspective. You got to kill that. That's not going to get you anywhere. You know, it's deeper than that.
70s probably came from one of the Arawak related tribes of northeastern South America, that is, from Venezuela or Guyana, the English speaking country sandwiched between Venezuela and present day Suriname. Tituba would have been among the small contingent of American Indians forcibly transported to Barbados from the South American coast, the Spanish Main, and shipped to the island no more than 10 years before moving to Massachusetts in 1680. And it says, an Arawak Guyana background seems to be the most likely explanation for Tituba's origins. It's the most logical and likely explanation. Not African. Although the evidence is circumstantial, Tituba, transported to Boston 6 years after 1674 kidnapping event, may well have been one of the children in Rob's cargo that September day in 1674. Evidence uncovered in the Barbados records suggests that Tituba was just a child, somewhere between 9 and 14 years old, in 1676. While still a child, she was in all likelihood sold in Barbados as a slave and subsequently brought to Massachusetts by Samuel Parris. And continuing the book, Tituba, Reluctant Witch of Salem, it says, of even more significance is a branch of the Arawaks living in that area of the Amacura River and identified by anthropologists as the Tetebetana. The name Tituba is most likely a Spanish derivative of that Arawak name. Reasonable grounds for assuming South American Arawak roots for the Indian slave woman later brought to Massachusetts. Arawak names had regular endings to indicate sex and number. The collective ending was na, or sometimes no. Tetebetana would have been the name of the group itself. The masculine ending was dai, or sometimes tai. The feminine was do, or to. Thus, a male in the tribe would be called Tetebetadi, and a female Tetebetado. A Barbados planter hearing this Spanish-sounding name may well have dropped the ending syllable and called a member of the tribe by the name of Tetebe, with its variant spellings including Tituba, Tatuba, and Titeba. And continuing the book, it says, with brownish skin and black hair, brownish skin. Ish. Arawaks resembled other Indians of Central America and the Caribbean, just like other Indians, brown skin, just like the ones in Central America and the Caribbean. I'm in the book called An Account of the Life, Character, and of the Reverend Samuel Parris of Salem Village and his connection with the witchcraft delusion of 1692. Read before the Essex Institute, November 14th, 1856. By Samuel P. Fowler. All right, and this is written in 1857. All right, 1857. We got a real historic book here, record. All right, so we're in page 5 of this book, and it says, Mr. Parris' household consisted at this time of himself and wife, his age being 39 years, that of his wife 44 years, a daughter Elizabeth, aged 9 years, a niece of 11 years by the name of Abigail Williams, and 2 servants. Again, 2 servants. Please remember, please look at what I'm showing you. Not slaves, servants. We're talking about indentured servants. Why? Because at this time, that's what they had, indentured servants. Named John Indian, an Indian, and Tituba, his wife, or his relation, or somebody from his tribe he respected and called auntie. Both natives of South America, American Indians from South America, okay? Then called New Spain. These were held as slaves. They were held as slaves, but they were servants. What does that mean? They had maybe a term of life. Just like we talked about how they were extended terms of service to basically life. So, these servants were being held as slaves, and Paris probably came in possession of them in some of his commercial transactions. By some persons, these Indians have been supposed to belong to the aborigines of our country. Aborigines, aborigines of our country, and to have obtained their knowledge of witchcraft from the Indian powwows. Taj the hijack, right? So 1857, 1856, this is what they're saying about your ancestors, because we know how to use herbs to heal each other in our diseases, right? Because we're in tune with nature, all right? So they're calling it aborigine witchcraft, I guess, but they're letting you know straight up, right? Who are these people? These are not Africans. We see the images of her, right? You see all the depictions of her in the movies, all right? What is she? A so-called Negro woman, right? But this is an aborigine of South America, Guyana, Guinea, a land of Negroes. All right, that's what it means. Guyana, Guyana. They're just playing word games with you, flipping the history, flipping it on you, the map, flipping it, reverse. Again, by some papers, these Indians have been supposed to belong to the Aborigines. All right, Aborigines. All right, now we're in this other book. It's called The Wonders of the Invisible World, displayed in 5 parts. All right, it says here collected by Robert Califf, merchant of Boston in New England, a new edition, Boston, published by T. Benlington in 1828. 1828. All right, we're in page 197 of this book, and dodge the hijack. So it says a few days before this solemn day of prayer, Mr. Paris, Indian man and woman, Indian Aborigine, Arawak, man and woman made a cake of rye meal, it says here, with the children's water, and baked it in the ashes, and as it said, gave it to the dog. This was done as a means to discover witchcraft. All right, soon after which those ill affected or afflicted persons named several that they saw when in their fits afflicting them. All right, so this is like, the whole story of the Salem witch trial. So it says the first complaint of was the said Indian woman named Tituba. The Indian woman named Tituba, she was the first complained of. She confessed that the devil urged her to sign a book, which he presented to her, and also to work mischief to the children. She was afterwards committed to prison, and lay there till sold for her fees. The account she since gives of it is that her master did beat her and other ways abuse her to make her confess and accuse such as he called her sister witches. All right, so you hear what's going on? There's a whole other story after this. There's accounts of her confessing, stating later on that he had beat her, and abused her so she can get this confession out of her.
All right, so I know we go off topic a little bit in the chat, but I don't have a lot of people paying attention. Again, they tell us that she had blamed everybody. We know the controversial story of the Salem witch trials, but she was in a lot of accounts, contemporary accounts, she was actually beaten. She was telling people after, when she got freed, she was, she was telling what had happened, how they made her point out specific people in the town, that the dude didn't want, like his competition. We've actually learned later on that one of these people later on, who was supposed to be a servant or indentured or something like that, was sued. We've read this before. He was one of the Salem witch trial persons that they were trying to kill as a witch. He later sued and won. And we've read that. So again, they're trying to blame her for her indigenous ways, trying to make her into a witch because of her ceremonial practice, what she was doing. All right, we're gonna read, and as we're reading, and easy target. Of course, this guy was abusing her. making her do and confess this stuff. All right. Even in the movies, they kind of hinted a little bit when they tell the story, like she was like they were making her do it. She, but they try to make her into like in a lot of movies into like this devil woman, right? Like she's getting into this trance, and so just dodge the hijack, because yeah, she was forced.
So this guy, Robert Paris, the Reverend, beating, come on, Reverend, he had like an agenda, kind of, right? These people, a lot of them were, almost all of them were innocent, right? This, he had an agenda with this, and he used Tituba.
Hey, Jarvis, I'm definitely not one of you, whatever you are, man. All right. You don't know my genealogy. All right. But I bet we got more in common than you think. All right. You got a lot of prejudice hating you, man. Straight up, man. And right now you're talking nonsense and you're not even realizing. So hold your ego in, man. All right. Don't make me have to time you out.
Used who? The Indian Arawak Aborigine Tituba, all right, to get people killed. And that whatsoever she said by way of confessing or accusing others was the effect of such usage. She only did it because he was abusing her. Her master refused to pay her fees unless she would stand to what she had said. So, because she didn't want to admit or keep lying because she was telling the truth, he didn't bail her out or anything. All right. All right. So we're again in Wikipedia. All right. For Tituba. Again, look at the image. She got two feathers on. She's rocking the feathers. They make her look like a witch, a weird. And you know how they try to make them look witches like old ladies and stuff, whatever. All right. So down here it says after the trials, Tituba remained in jail because Samuel Paris refused to pay her jail fees. In April of 1693, Tituba was sold to an unknown person for the price of her jail fees. An interview with Robert Calef. This is the guy we just read, the author from the book. There we go, look. This is the book we just read from. For his collections on papers on the trials titled Wonders of the Invisible World, being an account of the trials of several witches lately executed in New England. So he interviewed her. Tituba confirmed that Paris had beaten a confession out of her and then coached her in what to say and how to say when first questioned. You see what he did? All right, you see what he did? All right, now look what it says here. It says fiction. And look how they show her right here like a gypsy, like a old, like a for real, like a witch, right? The majority of fictional pieces that artistically or historically depict Tituba's life portray her as an other or an outgroup. You hear this? By Puritan society. That's still how they treat you. Due to her racial and socioeconomic status as a South American native indigenous and as an indentured servant woman. All right, what have we been learning?
La discriminación es un mal negocio humano, social y económico, y por eso debemos de acabar con ella de una vez por todas. Este 26 de mayo, Costa Rica ha dado un paso al frente en la historia para construir un nuevo pacto social basado en la igualdad y no discriminación. El Estado costarricense reconoce que amar a quien se quiere es un derecho humano y no un delito, que ya nadie tendrá que renunciar a la fuerza el formar una familia, que el respeto a la identidad es un elemento básico para la convivencia diaria y que en nuestro territorio nacional hay espacio suficiente para que todas y todos tengamos un lugar.
All right. So yeah, so this is the ex-president of Costa Rica. All right, her name is Epsi Campbell. All right, she speaks fluent Spanish. Jarvis, you know how retarded you sound, man, with your sugarcoating prejudice hate towards me, man. All right, stop being fake, man. Stop being fake, man. You out of here, man. Ain't no fake love here. That was the corniest statement. You just made yourself look mad foolish, man. Mad foolish, man. This was our ex. This is our ex vice president. All right. All right. So Jarvis, unfortunately, you're like a little kid, man. You don't know how to hold. You know, even if you got hate, you know, I don't care, man. I don't care what you think about me, man. I don't care, man. Childish, man. We're gonna get back to the presentation, man. We're talking about Tituba. All right, Tituba. You over here worried about me. Over here worried about me. You don't understand you can't control your emotions. You're so worried about me. You don't even understand how childish you are. You can't even control your emotions, man. Worrying about me. You're all off topic, worrying about me. Does it make a difference who's telling you the information, whether it's me, a white man, a Chinese man, an alien from Mars, a Martian Moor, whoever you want? Does it make a difference? Why are you so worried about me, man? You don't know my genealogy. That goes for everybody who's on that Jarvis frequency, that corny cornball hating frequency. You don't know me, man. Don't act like you know who I am, who my ancestors are. You don't know me, man. You don't speak for everybody. Who's we, man? Show me your genealogy. When you're ready to come up and show you all your lines here and alive, then you can speak. Right? We're gonna go back to the presentation. Thanks for interrupting, Jarvis, with your hate. Cornball.
Ancestors were first indentured servants, put into terms of service for a contract of years, and eventually what happened? Their terms of service were extended to life terms. All right. So she was an outcast basically because of her racial and socioeconomic status as a South American native indigenous and an indentured servant woman. You can take a look at this at Double Portrait Tituba, Racism and Politics, International Journal of Language Academy. All right, well, look what we got here. We actually have that journal. International Journal of Language Academy, says here, Volume 1. Double Portrait Tituba, Racism and Politics by Sif Tasvir Tituba. All right, that's some weird language right there, right? Polish or something? What is that, huh? It says racism as a social discourse has permanently been treated by the American writers, critics, politicians, intellectuals, and has often made American political and social history quite busy. Racist attitudes and policies have sometimes led to the formation of a variety of reactions and have been most of the time turned into political material and ultimately has invaded the American literature. This study examines how racist discourse and behaviors are reflected on the works of two different authors and how these reflections are interpreted. Anne Petrie, in her novel Tituba of Salem Village, introduces a black woman. What? A so-called what? Black? Who's black? Who they call black? But remember, this is an aborigine, right? An indigenous woman from South America. So she's being introduced as a black woman who appears intelligent but sometimes foolish, brave but sometimes a victim, a stranger but a survivor, a slave but at the same time a black heroine. In a way, Tituba reflects a self-resistant portrayal of women, with her strong desire to survive and her versatile aspects as a good and skilled black woman. Tituba is the main character in the Petrie's Tituba of Salem Village, 1956, portraying Tituba as a black West Indian who tells stories about life in Barbados to the village girls. Petrie mingles these stories with existing superstitions and half-remembered pagan beliefs among the Puritans, and she also represents the hysteria that surrounds witchcraft. All right, so she's portrayed as what? As a black West Indian. All right, what does that mean? She's indigenous. She's an aborigine from South America, Arawak. All right, now continue and look at this. Now we're gonna get into the hijack right here. let's expose the hijack right here. It says, as an Afro-American writer, Afro, dodge the hijack. Petrie introduces a black character, so-called black, who is harshly accused of deeds linked with the devil, which she has basically nothing to do with. Although the novel reflects the period, Tituba is not characterized simply as a witch, but more especially is portrayed as a what? Black slave. We're just talking about you when we're talking about American Indian or Aborigines of America, especially that area of South America, the Amazons, Orinoco, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname. This is land of the Negroes. That's why they call it Guyana. Guyana. Petrie shows us a character who is regarded as a potential criminal merely because of her skin color. So what happened? She was an outcast, remember? Because of her racial status and because she was an indentured servant. So they used her. He was beating her. He beat her to confess that she was a witch because of her skin color. But we're talking about an American Indian woman, right? An Arawak. Although Tituba, along with her husband John, does what her master orders her to do. She did what her master beat her to do. She is always at the mercy of some accusation or another. All right, now we're in the Smithsonian.com website, and we're in this article. It says here, unraveling the many mysteries of Tituba, the star witness of the Salem witch trials. It says no one really knows the true motives of the character, central to one of America's greatest secrets. Greatest secrets. I wonder what that secret is. It says here, the pivotal accuser at the trial, Tituba, would go down in history as a purveyor of satanic magic. So this is how they want to portray your ancestor. Just because she was an American indigenous woman, she was an outcast, and that's how they portrayed her. And 1880s engraving depicts her in the act of terrifying children. Look at that, how they depict her. All right, so this is by Stacy Schiff, Smithsonian Magazine. All right, we know her only as Tituba. She belonged to Samuel Parris, the minister in whose household the witchcraft erupted. His daughter and niece were the first to convulse. Although she was officially charged with having practiced witchcraft on 4 Salem girls between January and March, we do not know precisely why Tituba was accused. Especially close to 9-year-old Betty Parris, she had worked and prayed alongside the family for years, for at least a decade in Boston and Salem. She took her meals with the girls, beside whom she likely slept at night. Tituba may have sailed from Barbados, we already know she did, in 1680, not may have, with Parris, then still a bachelor. He wasn't a reverend yet, he was a bachelor, and not yet a minister. Though likely a South American Indian, not likely, she was an Aborigine, she was an indigenous Arawak, indigenous woman. All right, it says her origins are unclear. Yeah, Smithsonian, keep lying. It continues, says she could not have expected to be accused. New England witches were traditionally marginals, outliers and deviants, cantankerous scolds and choleric foot stompers. So people who were like the lower class society, they were not people of color. She's a person of color. Just saying, witches usually were not the Negroes. That's what they're saying. People of color, which she is. All right, now look what it says here. It says, there would be less consensus afterward, particularly when it came to Tituba's identity. Described as Indian no fewer than 15 times in the court papers. All right, as Indian. She went on to shift shape herself. All right, how did she do that? All right, remember, she's a person of color. They already said that earlier. But she's described as an Indian in the court papers, legal papers. All right. As scholars have noted, fallen prey to multi-century game of telephone, Tituba evolved over 2 centuries from Indian, like your ancestors, and this is what happened to you too, your ancestors. Listen, from Indian to half Indian to half black to black. They call you black today. They call you black today. This is, I would say, 95 to 98% of so-called African Americans. They call you black today. With assist from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who seemed to have plucked her from Macbeth, historian George Bancroft, and William Carlos Williams. By the time Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible in 1952, Tituba was a Negro slave. A Negro. Dodge the hijack. Remember, Negro and slave were synonymous. They were calling anybody who was a slave Negro. Indians were slaves too, right? They were called Negro too because they were synonymous. All right. She engaged in a different brand of dark arts to go with her new heritage. So they started adding the African and the voodoo and all that to these stories. All right. This didn't really happen. Miller supplied a live frog, a kettle, and chicken blood. You see all this? They're making her look that it's all fiction, basically. He has Tituba sing her West Indian songs over a fire in the forest as a naked girl dances around. Sounded like a distant cousin of Mammy and Gone with the Wind. She says things like, "Mr. Reverend, I do believe somebody else bewitching these children." She is last seen in a moonlit prison, sounding half crazed, begging the devil to carry her home to Barbados. After the Crucible, she would be known for her voodoo. So after that movie, The Crucible, right? She would be known for her voodoo. That's when they hijacked your mind, made you shift your perception of this indigenous woman, talking about she was practicing voodoo because they made her seem like she was African slave. They try to add that, they weren't saying it. They were calling her Negro, but they wanted you to think African, right? Of which there is no shred of evidence. So Smithsonian.com is telling you straight up that there is no shred of evidence that she was practicing voodoo, rather than for her psychedelic confession, which endures on paper. Why the retrofitted racial identity? Arguably bias played a role. A black woman at the center of the story made more sense, in the same way that as Tituba side, a man in black belonged at the center of a diabolical conspiracy. Her history was written by men working when African voodoo was more electrifying than outmoded English witchcraft. You hear this? It was written, it was not real, because her history was written by men working when African voodoo was more electrifying. It was more entertaining. It was more of the lies. It went with their lies than outmoded English witchcraft. All right, we're in the website history.com, or like the History Channel or whatever. It says the mysterious slave who sparked Salem's witch hunt. Tituba has become a legend, but she was all too easy to scapegoat. They used her as a scapegoat. Right, it says here in history.com, Tituba's story is a convoluted and potentially fictitious as any other part of the Salem witch trials. Even during the events of the 1690s, which led to 20 deaths, legends and rumors were common, so they killed 20 people because of this. It's hard to untangle them from a distance, and all historians know for sure about Tituba comes from the court testimony she gave during the infamous trials. What is certain, pay attention right here, is that Tituba was a woman of color. That is certain, my people. All right, so this indigenous woman, it's certain that she was a woman of color, and likely an indigenous Central American, who was a slave in the house of Reverend Samuel Parris, Salem's Puritan minister. At the time, slavery in the colonies was on the rise, and the West Indies was rapidly becoming Europe's most important center for the slave trade. And we remember, this is Indians. Reverend Samuel Parris bought Tituba in Barbados, where she had been enslaved since her capture during the childhood. He brought her to Massachusetts in 1680 when she was a teenager. At some point, she is thought to have married another slave named John Indian. All right, remember, he was the one calling her auntie, and she had a daughter, Violet. However, it was all too easy to scapegoat people of color. It was too easy for them to blame a so-called Negro, an American indigenous woman, and marginal members of society. Sarah Good, who was arrested along with Tituba, was a beggar who was looked down on by the town for her financial instability and her debts. You see what they did? They made her confess to people that they wanted to get rid of. They wanted to kill, really, or get rid of from the town. Straight up. Sarah Osborne lived on Salem's margins too. She was involved in a dispute with her children over their dead father's estate and was reviled for an affair with an indentured servant, an Indian. All three women were perfect targets for accusations of deviant evil, even evil behavior. Continues saying she was indicted as detestable witch and languished in jail for more than a year. Paris refused to pay her bail. Meanwhile, more and more indictments and arrests piled up as Salem gave into the town-wide panic. You see that? They were just killing people they wanted to get rid of. Used her as a scapegoat, an American indigenous woman. Later, Tituba recanted. She told the magistrate that she had made up everything after her master beat her in an attempt to force a confession. So who did she tell? Her magistrate. Remember the other guy? Calef? He interviewed her for his book. Now, this is another source, another person she told the same thing to, her magistrate. This is history.com. It's not just in that book. It's not just that guy making it up. All right? He beat her in an attempt to force a confession. By then, the trials had wound down and the governor of Massachusetts had ordered the arrest to stop. Eventually, an anonymous person paid Tituba's bail, and she went free after 13 months in jail. All right, continuing the book. Now, this part talks about how in these census records, right, that these slaveholders had, when they listed their servants or slaves, they put the Indians at the end of these lists, right? So in the same list where the so-called Negroes were, or Negro list, what they called, or Negro slaves, they would always put the Indians at the end. So it says here, it is significant that these names all appear at the end of the list of Negro slaves in the usual manner of indicating Indians, but without the distinguishing label. Tituba name appearing at the end of the 1676 Thompson schedule of boys and girls may reflect this same common practice. The absence of the designation Indian does not prove that a particular slave was African, even though listed under the rubric of Negroes. All right, so they're saying that he's letting you know, right? This book is letting us know what we already know, that when they're talking about Negroes or Negroes being brought up from the West Indies, right, it doesn't automatically mean that he was an African just because he was listed as a Negro. Okay? Godwin noted that the words Negro and slave had become synonymous by 1680. All slaves, regardless of ethnic background, could be listed as Negroes during the last quarter of the century. So even if you weren't a Negro, you were listed because you were a slave. Slaveholders no longer considered it necessary to distinguish their Indian slaves from the Africans. Nonetheless, the location of a name at the end of the list where American Indians were usually noted, coupled with a reference to the American locale known to be the source of Indian slaves at the time, thus provide verification that a particular slave was of Indian rather than of African origin, okay? Was of Indian rather than of African background. It is very likely then that the Tituba of the 1676 Thompson deed was an Amerindian. The name is too reminiscent of the Tetebetana clan to be discounted, whether spelled as Tetebe or Tituba or Tatuba. It is a name that appears to be uniquely American Indian, derivative, and not African. For the merchant Predux, the quiet sale of this Amerindian girl to an unmarried merchant in need of an experienced domestic servant, and who was relocating to the mainland, would have made good sense and have been a relief to his neighbors. The Tituba inherited by Samuel Thompson was probably the same person as Tituba that Samuel Parris brought to Massachusetts and who figured so prominently in the early phases of Salem witch scare of 1692. He had come originally from an Arawak-speaking group in South America, an area that formed part of what was vaguely identified as the Spanish Main. Tituba's behavior in Salem suggests nothing to the contrary, but rather supports these conjectures regarding her ethnic background. Paris Indian woman was, therefore, no more than 30 years of age in 1692, and possibly as young as 25. She carried with her memories of life in an Arawak village as well as the image of an emergent Creole society in the Barbados of the 1670s. All right, now we're in the website. It's called Last Real Indians. All right, the Last Real Indians. All right, .com. Check it out. The unknown Native American Amerindian slave trade and the hidden Native American Amerindian ancestry in Barbados and the Barbados and Guyana Locono Arawak origins of the infamous Salem witch trials by Damon Corey. All right, it says here 1674, Captain Peter Robb set sail from Barbados on his ship, the Savoy, for the Dutch Guiana coastline in South America. He had a legal mandate from Barbados English Governor Lord Willoughby and his successor in 1673, Sir Peter Culleton, to capture Arawak Indians for sale in Barbados. All right, Indians, not Africans. In this same year, the Barbadian English colonist settlers of the Carolinas were also enslaving the Sowe and Appalachian tribes and exporting them to Barbados for the Amerindian slave market. All right, again, American Indians, not Africans. Now, it says here, 1675, Samuel Parris, who owned a successful sugar plantation in Barbados, as did his brother Thomas Parris, purchased 2 Lacano Arawak Indians, one older female and one younger male, that were captured together the year before by Captain Peter Robb's slave raiding expedition to the Guianas. He renamed them both as John Indian for the male and Tituba for the female. All right, what does that tell us? Tituba. This is the woman so often misrepresented as an African slave in the fanciful retelling of the infamous Salem witch trials. All right, misrepresented as an African slave. She's an indigenous aborigine. We'll see that. I can even tell you a fact that the people who want to portray her erroneously as an African woman do not know, namely that Tituba means the same as auntie. Tituba means the same as auntie in the Lacano Arawak language, and Paris assumed this was her name because the younger Arawak man he purchased, who was captured with her on the coastline in Guyana, was either her actual blood nephew or merely any younger male in the tribe, who, as was custom, and still is in our tribe, would refer to her with this term of endearment only, and never by her real name, for that would be the height of disrespect. Hence, he heard John referring to her as Tituba incessantly, and Paris logically concluded, since he was not a speaker of the Lacano Arawak language, that her name must be Tituba. Case closed. All right, so what is she? An Arawak Indian, right? He's saying Lacano Arawakan, and Tituba is a Arawakan word close to showing a relation in a family, like auntie, somebody older, somebody they respect. All right, so a lot of the Caribbean people, you guys know this. You call your family members auntie, right? All right. Continues as 1680, Samuel Parris immigrated to Boston, Massachusetts, USA with his family and the 2 Arawak Indian slaves he purchased 5 years early in Barbados. 1689, the now Reverend Samuel Parris moved to Salem and founded his own Puritan church. It says here, 1692, Reverend Samuel Parris discovers his female Arawak Indian slave Tituba performing a ritual, what I recognize as merely a traditional Lacano Arawak purity rite of passage, since my own daughter had one done for herself by her grandmother and mother when she was 13. So you see, because they say that they caught her doing some witchcraft, all right, something with a cake, all right, but he knows what it is. This person who is actually Lacano Arawak, right, tribal person, says, seems like it was a traditional Lacano Arawak puberty rite of passage, and it is the most sacred and important ceremony for a young female that takes her from girlhood to womanhood. For his daughter Elizabeth, his niece Abigail, and 2 other of their friends, Ann Putnam and Elizabeth Hubbard. All right, that was the people, the girls who were living with her. All right, so we're in this website called Lacano Caribe System. All right, it says Arawak, Azteca, and Inca prayers and other orisons for faith keepers. All right, just found something interesting here. All right, so it starts breaking down about languages and how certain words are Native American and all that. And then it starts getting into Tituba, right? And it says an example comes to us from the dubious notoriety assumed and projected by historians onto Tituba, an Arawak slave woman who is said to have come perhaps from Barbados, though originally from Guyana. or Guyana, South America, land of the blacks, right? Guyana, land of Negroes. Her story shows what we can acknowledge as early fake news, all right? Because they started throwing the African in there, all right? So it says here, let's decipher and locate a meaning for her name to honor this grandmother who was stolen and became lost to her family and people group. Most native names were lost with Christianization due to being falsely categorized as be pagan. In Bennett's dictionary, there's only TT, term of respect for an older woman, which may well be borrowed from Spanish, Portuguese, or French and perhaps indicates she was over 30 and perhaps over 40. The ba suffix meaning your. Tituba would mean your aunt. Tituba means your aunt, like we just got from the other article, or auntie, a general term of respect across the native peoples who have the sense of extended family identity. All right, so Tituba means auntie. All right, so John was calling her Tituba, John Indian, right? Supposedly her husband, but he was actually calling her auntie. All the same, Bennett's other meaning for the Titi is ichi, unconnected with teta, aunt. In Old Spanish and Old Portuguese, which becomes contracted into tia, tia, tutua, tia, ta. Her name might be a surname from the Kahu Baba or Kahu Vaba tribe, or it might be something like Ketuwa, Ketuwa, Awa, the light hibiscus flower. Tetua became folklorized as black. She became folklorized as black. What does that mean? All right, so-called black. Today's meaning is any African blend of mix, which today, like she's saying, would tell people, right, with their hijack mentality of history, that she has to be African, right, because she's labeled black today. All right. Yet black in English originally, though, was used to describe any person or people group who were non-Anglo-Saxons, non-Anglo-Saxons, or those said to be of unsavory heart of character. All the same, in the earlier years in Spanish, negrita or negrito, little black one, was used as a term of endearment, leading us today to recognize that one time black marked a cherished characteristic of being dark-haired or dark-complexioned and associated perhaps with the era of Ottoman rule in parts of Spain, or the unusual and exotic, as in the biblical poetry of the Songs of Solomon, also known as canticles. I am black, but calmly, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. All right, so look at this. What is Solomon telling you? That he is black, right? So-called black. And he didn't say that because he was most likely speaking Paleo Hebrew. I'm sure he didn't say black, but he's telling people his complexion, dark skin, in this verse in the Bible. Did you know that? All right, so Tituba says became the first American native woman of these intercontinental Americas to be falsely accused of the Euro-American practice of brujeria. Any woman whose knowledge, gifts, and talents surpassed or was inscrutable to any man or men was typically, in the history of British colonial life, one that was feared as pagan because she knew how to heal and had ancient American native knowledge, right, that she was bringing up, which they saw as pagan practices, right, in witchcraft or Wiccan, evil, or otherwise criminalized by those who falsely imagined that what they did not understand must be dangerous. All right, so this is going to correlate what we were reading about the word Tituba and auntie. All right, so this says the planter in Barbados may also have been encouraged to call the slave by that shortened form of her tribal family name if the girl had followed Arawak custom and refused to reveal her proper name to him. Such proper names expressed an identity not only in the form but in essence, and were seldom used by Guyana Indians for fear that the identity could be lost if the name were revealed to outsiders. Arawak groups usually addressed each other by relationships using the word for brother, sister, companion, or mother, rather than their given names, or auntie. Since relationships with Europeans were not always definable, Indians accepted whatever terms was suggested to them by the strangers. Thus, it was not unusual to hear Indians dubbed Peter, Jack, John, or Mary. Whatever her proper name was, Tituba would have refused to disclose it to her kidnappers, but may have revealed that she was Tete Betado, a female of the Tete Betana clan. To call her Tetebe would also have the convenience of identifying her origin or point of embarkation, making a racial tag or a surname unnecessary. The name Tituba, then, is probably a shortened form for one of the clans or families. You hear this? So it's kind of related to what we were reading earlier, right? About auntie or family, a relation, showing a relation or respect, showing somebody of respect, right? The Tete Betana of an Arawak-speaking group located in the Amakura Orinoco River area, a section of the world called by Europeans the Spanish Main. All right, so this is kind of correlating where we were talking about the whole, the word meaning auntie or showing some kind of family relation or tribal relation. All right, so John was calling her Tituba.
All right. All right. Let me get a one. Make sure you guys can hear me. All right. So that was the presentation with Tituba. My little Halloween special. Halloween, so-called Halloween. All right. Hold on. All right. Good to know you guys are still here. All right. So again, let's just start out with this since it's on the screen. It says here, man. Hold on. What's going on here? Okay. Yeah. Uh. All right. I just gotta get into it. Sorry, I had to step away real quick. I didn't know it was about to end. My fault. All right, here we go. I'm back. So yeah, a lot of people got opinions. It's okay, man. And the thing is, you know, sometimes, it's like that saying goes, you can't hustle a hustler, you can't con a con, man. Like I wasn't born yesterday, you know. There's a gift. I have a superpower. I've been trying to tell you and warn you guys. But you see, it happens. And yeah, I may get emotional too, but it's okay because I got facts to prove. I got real sources because I know I'm passionate about what I'm talking about because I know it's true. I'm not here competing or saying, oh, you're wrong because of this or you're wrong about this. I like this word, but you're wrong about that. You're wrong about that. If I got something to question people on, I'll contact them and say, like, hey, have you ever seen this? Have you ever checked this out? It's just your approach. It's just your prejudice and your way of coming supposedly to help. Again, I don't know how old you are, man, but that game don't work on me. That game, that's like little kids. Come on, I got my own kids. Yeah. Believe it or not, I'll be 40 in January. I'll be 40, man. I can't even believe it. Because I never, I don't think about age like that, All right, so I'm trying to be real with you. I had a couple things I wanted to address today. Let me just where did my thing go? I hope you guys enjoyed the tuba thing. I mean, is there any doubt? Like, I mean, you understand people are still debating me about this. I brought that video out like 3 years ago. People are still trying to debate me about Tituba. Like, why would I waste my time? You understand? Like, they're like, prove it, prove it. They have me on these panels like, prove it, prove it. Like, wait, hold up. Are you saying you didn't take the time to go sit down for an hour and go look at all the sources and stuff and why I'm saying that and just do a little research? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't play those games with people trying to question me and trying to debate me because they got agendas behind it. They're not really trying to help. They're being fake. They're being really fake. They got a personal against me They're not even paying attention to what I'm saying or the information. What does the information have to do about with me? And if you don't see why this is important, such an obvious thing, why would this be so important? Somebody telling you you're an African when you were not. Your whole history a lie. Oh, that's not important, Kurimeo. Why are you telling us this? This is not important. Who cares? Who cares? Shout out, Bara, straight up. Shout out to the people who actually watch my videos in full and do research afterwards and verify it. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Verify the information. You got something to help me out, to add to it or correct me on. I'm all ears. It's just your approach. Stop being fake. You got a personal against me. I wasn't born yesterday. I don't got time for that. Too many years living in this lie and believing things, man. Arguing with people, debating with people, people wanting clout, clout chasing, people mad. Shout out to Cat Williams. Shout out to the great Cat Williams, man. Right? You mad at breakfast? Yo, Jarvis, you mad at breakfast? Yo, Carlos, you mad at breakfast? Who else who wants to be the third one? I might open up, the phones. I might open up the phone line real quick. But I want to address something right now. Shout out to all the drop cons. Shout out to Drop Nation, the great drop cons. Shout out to Drop Nation. Shout out to the Tituba brothers. Shout out to my Patreons, all the subscribers, everybody who supports me, all the real love. Thank you. The haters, you mad at breakfast, yo? You mad? Wait, hold up. Yo, Pan-Africans, yo, hold up. Hey, abos that say I'm not Indian because I don't look like them. Hey, abos, you mad at breakfast? Hold up. You don't like my sources, right? Yo, hey, that's a smart couch. That's a love couch, right? Oh, I messed up. That's a love couch, right? Shout out to Cat Williams. That's a love couch, right? You got to be in love to sit in it, right? That's you guys. Shout out to Cat Williams. Yo, thanks for pointing them out, man. Oh, man. All right, I had some notes here. I wanted to talk about some things. All right, it's random, so I'm going to go random. All right. Again, that was the Tituba video. These are some of just the covers I got for some of my videos. I do want to remind everybody who's new, I get a lot of questions, a lot of comments on information I've actually gone over already and detail, like very in detail, very specific. So that's why I don't just want to, I'm not telling people to go watch my video just because I don't got the time to explain something. Something which may take 2 hours to explain, honestly, because you got to empty your cup. We come with so much cultural background beliefs and doctrine sometimes. A lot of it is true, a lot of it is just doctrine, so it's hard to let go of that stuff and understand what I'm presenting. I understand that. That's why we taking the journey together. We take the journey together. We all, I'm learning, I've been learning all this whole time, this whole journey. Shout out to all the teachers out there that I learned from still. All right. So yeah, I recommend that if you're new, take the time, take like a course, like, how you binge watch Netflix and watch like 5 seasons in 2 days and stuff, kind of like the same thing. Go back, go one by one, go up, because it's been a journey. Like my videos had a certain order. There was a reason why I was bringing up the topics in a certain order. We had to discuss certain things first to understand other things. We're about to get real deep. I really it's a lot of things I haven't mentioned and people assume I don't know, but we're about to get real deep. Again, the last 2 months, I just wanted to do a kind of like a little recap. Had a lot of new subscribers, and I just kept, I can't just say, go watch the video. I'm going to force you to watch it. So I forced you guys to watch it. A lot of you guys, it was the new first time. A lot of you guys remember or maybe forgot the info. It was, long and, it was 3 or 4 years ago. So, but it was still very relevant. A lot of good information that we kind of forgot about. and just to have reference again, so we can continue again with the new research, right? I got so many books I just want to read to you guys. I've been buying, I've been collecting. We're gonna continue the British, what is it called, the Jews and Muslims in British colonial America. Great information on that. The real colonists actually purchased the Negro Question Part 6 and 7, right? Part 6 is the 13 Black colonies. Great book, great information, correlating everything. You know, we've proven almost everything in that book. And then I got the Negro Question Part 7. All right. And I'm going to do a little treat. I guess, hey, whatever. Let's go. Let's see. What's up, guys? Hey, so what's up? All right. So let me show you. Oh, man, you can't really see it that good. But it's actually the Negro Question Part 7. It says Swarthy Memoirs of a Black American Revolution. Academia is afraid that you will read this book. That's what it says. Academia is afraid that you will read this book. It's pretty good. Again, we've proven most of the information in these books, but I like that it has maybe some sources that I've missed, and maybe we can add a little more research to what this person is writing in these books. So we're going to use that. That's just an example. All right. So again, what you're seeing here is the world's largest pyramid. A lot of people come at me. That's one of the topics today. Okay, let's see. So real quick, don't laugh. Don't laugh. I'm just like, I gotta talk about this because shout out to Drop Nation and Con Drop. Look at the hat. I've had that for years. The brother just sent it to me. He's like, hey man, I send you a hat and a shirt. And then he sent me another shirt. I didn't even ask for it, man. Thank you, man. Much love and respect, Con Drop. All right. All right, so points for the Q&A. More's a mad because I read from Drew Lee's book. All right, that's just one. So just quick, All right. Listen, man, I got 9 against people. Sometimes I feel like I get attacked by a certain group, and I'm human, so I go right back as a group. I'm attacking as a group, and I know a lot of the actual Moorish brothers are actually real good brothers. They got a good heart. They're actually very knowledgeable, have a lot of knowledge, man, a lot that they share with me that I learn from. I've always learned from. It's just things happen where certain individuals do certain things that they're like bad apples, right? They're like bad apples, honestly. That's the only way I can say it nicely. They're like bad apples and kind of spoil the rest. But just reading the Circle 7 Quran, and interpreting what it's saying myself, and just showing it to anybody. I'm not really just hating on anybody. I'm just letting you know he distinguished who the Moors were very specifically in the Circle 7 Quran. And there's specifically a separation between somebody who's named Joshua the Robber, right? And the Moors, because he's letting us know that's not his people. So who's Joshua's people, Again, America's a true old world. We're many nations here. So what happened in the past? Nobody's like, oh, you did this in the past, or we did that in the past, or we fought with you guys and we killed your guys and your guys killed back. All that, we just got to learn from it so it doesn't repeat. That's the point of all this. So, let me be a free man. All right. Let me see the chat. I know you guys probably got a lot to say or want to say, All right. So again, I got no beef with specific groups. Actually, it was more with specific individuals that supposedly represented. And honestly, they don't represent everybody. They don't represent everybody. And a lot of the good brothers have let me know that. A lot of the good Moorish brothers have let me know that I build with a lot. I've gone on Moorish channels, and it's been respectful, good questions. It doesn't have to always be like that, and I can stand corrected if, I came and I did a series called No More Misunderstanding, and you guys feel like I was coming at you. Well, sometimes you got to take the heat. Sometimes if the shoe fits, you got to be able to take the heat. We weren't all perfect, and everybody's not the same people. It's okay. And if it doesn't pertain to you, if it's not part of your genealogy, then, you know, it's not towards you at all. It's not towards you at all. Okay? Just let me be a free man. Let them know. Metacome. Let me be a free man. All right? Let me see. What is the other? So again, all right. I got a Morris just the other day said, you know, why are you talking about our people? You know, don't talk about our people, you know. I didn't just read from the Circle 7 Quran in that last video I did, you know. It wasn't the only book I'm reading from. It's just correlation. And just because I'm reading from it doesn't mean anything. And again, just like Jarvis, so what, I'm reading from it. Why are you worried about me personally? Why are you worried about me personally? Address the information. Get specific. Address the information. Let's talk about what I'm presenting. Is it true or not? Is it true or not? So are you disagreeing with Drew Ali, or are you agreeing with him? I'm agreeing with him. He was very specific. You get what I'm saying? So the thing about me is that I went to go try to find out. In my life, I was blessed enough to know who Joshua the Robbers people were. You get it? There's two sides to every story. There's two sides to every story. We can't get that one biased doctrine anymore. I'm sorry. We are trying to expand and learn everything, you know, like just put the pieces together, you know. And do I lean towards certain things? Maybe, because that's just my background, you know, and that's what I know. And that's what I researched. Also, I try to prove at least what I'm talking about, why I say. All right. Okay. So much love to the Moorish community. I got no beef, you know. There's just some very hateful, prejudice, unfortunate people in the Moorish community that attack me constantly. All right. So I like to point certain things out. All right. Since they like to point certain things out. All right. So I got another point here. It says Abo's mad because I don't show only Indians they want me to. So in the like, this is a perfect example, you know. So they'll tell me, yo, Kurimeo, why you putting this Mongol next to the Aboriginal brother, man? That's not an Indian, Kurimeo. You know, and I've colorized this picture. You know, let me just see if I can find it real quick. You know. Yeah, people, you know, are mad at me. And again, it's kind of like the same thing. It's because honestly, I'll be real. In my opinions, this is my opinion about why there's people like that. It's honestly, to me, they appear to be like into the whole they were like really deep into the whole Pan-African Black Power kind of thing. And when they learned they were Indians, or realized that grandma was telling the truth, because they weren't paying attention to grandma all those years, you know, then all of a sudden they brought their Black Power mentality over to this whole learning. And now you got to be really dark and look a certain way to be Indian. If not, you're not Indian. You know, and then you're pointing fingers at people. Now you're telling me this person not Indian, you're not Indian, and you're a foreigner. And then we kept learning, right? We kept learning. And now it's deeper. The rabbit hole is really deep. The rabbit hole is really, really deep. And for all you who are in this group, a lot of you listening right now, I know it. In that group, well, yeah, you do show some. Well, you show me their genealogy. When you're ready to show me these people's genealogy, and then show me your genealogy fully. Make sure you don't have no Black Europeans, Black Asians, or anybody, Hindu people, Germans. White. Yeah. You know, when you're ready to prove all that, because there's thousands and thousands of grandparents, right? Not just one or a couple. Not just one or a couple. Right? So again, thanks for tuning in. I'm just addressing certain things I just wanted to address. you know, based on comments and people's opinions, you know, online and everywhere around the globe, the so-called globe. They still spinning. That's why they dizzy probably. They still spinning. Let me be a free man. Let me be a free man. All right. So this is what they kind of want me to show all the time. And, you know, but, you know, we got to be careful because these Europeans, they're painting white. We're not white. So now what does this all mean? Yeah, it's about to get real deep. What does it mean to be calling so-called black people white in these old senses? What did white really mean sometimes? Remember who they were calling white. Remember, we've shown this before. People from Africa, straight up. Moors, they were calling Moors, North Africans, a lot of people white. So let me be a free man. Just let me be a free man. All right, let's see. All right. Another point says, Abels are mad because of the Hebrew info. Oh man, this is like childish. It's the way I got it, but this is the way. Listen, man, if you don't vibe with it, you don't vibe. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. There's no way though that you can enjoy all my other videos and I like because I'm doing the same thing. I'm reading from primary sources. I'm doing a lot of correlation. You know. And it's the same thing. I'm barely reading from the Bible. This is not about religions. All right. With the so-called Hebrew stuff, one from the other side, the hidden ones, one from the other side, one from the other side. Those beyond, those who cross the river, beyond the Euphrates, beyond, those who are beyond the Euphrates. That was the term put on people. Nobody was calling themselves Hebrews, okay? We use that word as reference, right? It's a lot of new people. You know, that's the only way they know what I'm talking about when we use the word Hebrew. When we're talking about you are the book, we're talking about that you are the book, right? You are the book. We're talking about real history. We're not talking about stories. We're not talking about biblical stories. We're talking about real history. We're talking about a real promised land. We're talking about a real promised land. Shout out to Viso Breeze. We're talking about real biblical locations. All right. We're talking about true old world. When we're talking about Canaan, right? The promised land, Canaan. Yeah. The real one. Right? So if you don't vibe with it, you don't vibe with it. There must be a reason. There must be a reason. That's all good. But we're not talking about religions. And I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. I'm not out there in the street doing that, screaming at people, you know, or trying to force something onto people. No, that's not me. I'm barely reading from the Bible, actually. Most of my videos I'm reading from other sources, even in the Hebrew ones. Just address the information. What exactly don't you agree with? Nobody's talking about religions, right? I'm talking about somebody plagiarized your story. I'm talking about somebody plagiarized your story and made an allegory. But in that allegorical story, at least there's some truth in history. You gotta, you know, read between the lines. Use your spirit to walk. This ain't about religions. Not me. We were religious all our lives. They had us believing in religious all our lives. It's beyond religion. Right? The Origins of American Racism, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. What a coincidence, we're just talking about that. Kurimeo. They got Prester John here holding the gold. The lost tribes, huh? You weren't lost ever. Again, these are just references. Right? So again, if you don't like the info, it's okay. You don't vibe with it, you don't vibe with it. It's okay. Now I got another point here. It says the Abos, we kind of already addressed this, but Jarvis is kind of one of these guys. The Abos, they're mad because I'm from Costa Rica and I'm light skinned. You know, they mad because they call me a Mexican when I'm from Costa Rica, right? So they don't even know geography or what people are. That's the level of intelligence people. You know what I mean? That's how ignorant people are, honestly, right? I feel like going back to the let's go back. Let's go back.
La discriminación es un mal negocio humano, social y económico, y por eso debemos de acabar con ella.
She said,
La discriminación es un mal negocio humano.
he said, discrimination is a bad human business. Discrimination, all right? Discrimination. This is our ex-vice president of Costa Rica. She speaks fluent Spanish. What are you talking about? You cannot base nationality on language, silly. You speak English. So are you from England, silly? Do you know how very unintelligent you sound? How ignorant? How it proves you're just personal. You're all full of emotions. All right. Being Costa Rican doesn't mean, or anybody who's from Costa Rica, just because you hear I'm from Costa Rica, you automatically say Mexican. Would you say this about her? She's straight up Costa Rican. All right. So, I mean, honestly, it's just hate. It's just hate. So whoever's worried about me personally, I already can, I can tell who they are right away. What's their agenda? What's their beef? So they expose themselves right away, really. Jarvis exposed himself, right away, man. Like he's probably been here before and subliminally, because they'll be subliminal for a couple weeks. When they feel brave enough, they feel like I don't know. Then they start, or they feel like it's an opportunity. Three people of color, the Matamusket Indians. Check out the video, the Machapunga. Check out the video. America, the true old world, Carlos. I know you don't like that phrase, but it's okay, man. Like, do your video. I'll watch it, man. I'll go look at the information and verify the sources, man. Carlitos. All right, and let me see. What's my next point? So sorry, I'm dragging here. Okay, it says Hebrew Israelites, they mad because the promised land is in America. Yo, shout out to Cat Williams. Yo, you mad at breakfast? Are you mad at breakfast, son? What you mad at exactly, man? You mad at breakfast, man? You mad at the whole world, man? Screaming at everybody, man. It's like mad. You got rage, huh? It's okay, man. It's okay. So, again, if you come with that, perspective and you're, trolling me because, you're mad because I'm saying Hebrews, the promised land is here in America. I mean, again, if the shoe fits based on the research, we've been here 4 years, over 200 presentations, you just got to the channel giving opinions. I don't really care. I don't really care, honestly. Yeah. It's like nothing. It's like, what are you talking about? You just babbling. Babble on, man. Babble on, man. Just keep babbling on, man. It's all emotions. What proof do you have? There's nowhere in the Bible it says nothing about people being out of specifically from Africa. You assumed. You assumed they was talking about Africa because they tricked you and told you that these places were over there. Ancient Egypt, Tamari was over here. The Nile, the Great River, which Mississippi and Ojibwa means Great River, that was over here. All right, you're seeing it in reverse. Going back into bondage, right? That's the verse they try to use on me. A lot of the Hebrew Israelites that, and telling me I'm not a so-called Hebrew, because they're Hebrews, right? So I got all kinds of groups coming at me, right? So they're the only black, dark skin, black are Hebrews, right? So for one group, I'm not Indian enough because I'm not dark like them. For another group, I'm not Hebrew enough because I'm not dark like them. You get what I'm saying? Egypt is a Greek word, Shabel. Egypt is a Greek word. Aegyptus, the temple or house of Ptah, right? Where does the etymology say anything about it being a landmass in Africa? That's a Greek word. No, Africa is not Africa. Africa is a Roman word. Africa is a Roman surname. Africanus. Africa was a colony, a Roman colony in Tunisia. It's a Roman word. You get what I'm saying? So Shalbo, pay attention because I'm addressing, you today too. I'm addressing you today. You got paid. You came in late. You came in to give opinions. Again, this ain't personal. It's not about emotions. It's not about emotions. It's not about emotions. Africa can be Africa. We're not talking bad about Africa by telling our story. That's the problem with you guys. That's the problem with you guys. Facts are facts. Africa is a Roman word. Address that first. If you want to bring up Africa and you want to bring up other words like Egypt, that's a Greek word. So are you Greeks and Romans? Is that what you're telling me? All right. So again, before I was interrupted by a hurt, emotional Pan-African, which I'm not really talking bad about Africans. See, you're taking it all wrong. Actually, many Africans follow me and I got mad love for them. They tell me straight up, Kurimeo, man, yeah, we don't got those stories here of millions of people being, that's not our local. And our stories tell us, if you talk to the native chiefs, that they're not originally from the places they're in today. They came from somewhere else. They're not from there. That's a whole different topic. Again, we're not hating on Africa just because we're telling our story correctly. So get it correct. Get it correct. Don't bring that drama, that nonsense over here. Don't bring that over here. It's okay. Let go. Let it go. Let me be a free man. Right? We had corn. Isis is a corn deity, representing the nourishment, the titty, right? The nourishment, which goes back to the corn mother. It's a legacy in Egypt over there. It's a legacy. It's a mythology. Over here is history. And there's an origin to it. Who's the grand architects? Right. So we're addressing right now. Hold up. The Hebrew Israelites, they were mad because I said this is the promised land. All right. And Pan Africans too. They get mad at me too. All right. But again, verify the information we've gone over. It's been 4 years, over 200 presentations. I'm going to keep reminding you. All right. Hours and hours and hours of sources and research for you to debunk. What's taking so long? It should be easy by now. What's taking you guys so long? Tituba is an Arawak Indian. You guys are still trying to debate me about that. Cinnamon's monster, yeah. You on point, it's a lot, a very large percentage, yes. And I'm gonna have future videos to prove that. That's the difference. We're not just talking. And the thing is, locally, they will agree with you. They will agree, the real indigenous people from there would agree that stories, their oral stories tell a different story. Okay. So again, yeah, this is the promised land. Do your research. You know, you're stuck in 1993. Bible's not the only book. A lot of Hebrews are only Bible only Hebrews. You know, Bible's not the only source. I mean, if you read scripture, it'll tell you straight up itself that be careful of the hand of the scribes. Be careful of the hand of the scribes, all right? Have some discernment. And don't add narratives. Don't add your personal narratives based on your beliefs to scripture. Show me the verse so I can interpret it myself. And don't just quote one verse in Deuteronomy 28, the end of the book, the end of the chapter, when you skipped over all the other curses that I already did a video on. I already did a video on proving that all those curses apply and only happened to a specific people in the specific history. And that's when they came from Europe. All right. So yeah, you know, be Marcus Garvey, you know, follower and go back to Africa and all that. That's cool. That's your beliefs. That's fine. Don't get upset. Don't take it personal because we're correcting the history though. All right. And we're doing it with real sources. We're reading them ourselves. We're verifying the information using different correlations. All right. And let me see. What's my next point? It says here, well, I just kind of address this. Pan-Africans are mad because Africa's not the motherland. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. And I'm going to tell you straight up, you know, what proof do you really have? Because this is what they always tell me. These are the three proofs they always kind of use, which is monkey bones. And this is not to be disrespectful. They're literally monkey bones. They're not even modern humans. The ones that they told us are the oldest humans that we never even verified to see what kind of humans these were. They're more like closer to the Neanderthals and even more closer to apes. They haven't even evolved, supposedly. So even just believing in those bones, that means you believe in evolution and you believe you came from monkeys. Same people that told you out of Africa are telling you you came from monkeys. No, listen. A Hill. What bones are they using as proof? Go research what they really are. They're not modern humans. Go look at how they depict them looking. Is that your ancestor? You believe in Darwinism? You believe you evolved from monkeys? That's the whole point. It's an insult to even believe in those bones. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Wake up. You're insulting yourself by believing in those bones. Those ain't humans. Those ain't humans. They got you believing you come out of an ape by believing in those bones as being your ancestors. They're not modern type humans. Look it up. We've done the research. We've shown it. Welcome to the channel. Okay? So you can get all personal and get emotional about it, feel like an insult. It's just truth. That's my whole point of what I said earlier. Verify the information. This ain't personal. I'm just correcting the history. That's not a real human. Scientists tell you straight up. Go read it. They're not modern type humans. Okay? All right. Next proof, DNA test, right? I did a whole video on that. How you gonna tell me about spitting on a tube so you can know your tribe? How you gonna tell me about spitting on a tube as your proof? Spitting inside a tube over genealogy. Look at the cover right now. Look at what's on the screen right now. It says Ruth Wallace Herndon and Ella Wilcox Secretao analyze officials' tendency to designate Narragansett Indian people as Negro or Black. Genealogy, you know how did they know? They were Narragansett because they did their genealogy, not a DNA test. DNA test works for living people to find relatives, paternal test, people you might have common relation to, but not for ancestry. I ain't pulling nothing. You're corny, man. You about to get timed out like a child, man. Shout out to Kev Gills, by the way. I saw he played one of my videos. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. See, that's what I'm saying. Why you over here? Why you on that negative tip, man? Why you taking this all personal, man? Why you taking this all personal, man? Huh? You want to join Jarvis and Carlos, I guess. All right. Yeah. So, all right. Nipmuc and Narragansett, right? The right to the name. Remember the videos. All right. Ooh. Who's Joshua the robber, man? That's all I'm trying to say. Who's his people? Are you saying Joshua was white? That's all I'm trying to say. He made a clear distinction between these two nations, between these two people. That's all I'm trying to say. Again, this is from a cover of one of my videos, part one. Just, the emotions down. Go take a look at what I'm saying. Maybe I was emotional when I was making those videos at that time because they were coming at me hard, man, very disrespectfully. So I had to come back harder. I'm gonna draw calm. I don't play like that. I don't play those things. I don't do that. All right. I come back with facts. I don't come back with blogging 5-hour videos talking about somebody. I came with 6 videos. Right? How many hours? How much information and sources that I use? All right. So again, it's okay not to be the motherland. Grandma land, grandma's older, Mayak, you know, you know, Louis Agassiz, the most famous geologist already said the oldest land out of the water was in America, Laurentian Mountains in Canada. All right. First pyramids, Caral Supe, Peru. All right. Just watch my corn video, my recent corn video. Just go watch it. Fossilized corn, man, 7,000, 8,000 years ago. We had massive plantations, irrigation systems, and canals and stuff. Huge pyramid complexes. They're like ruins right now. It's over there in a desert environment, right? It looks just like, they had camels there too. What are you talking about? Camels are from America. Lions, mammals, carnivores, all that originated in America. All right. Listen to this fact. These are facts we've already shown. Listen to these facts. All right. Listen to these facts. Out of 640 food crops in Africa, listen up. 600 of them originated in America. So what do you mean, Kurimeo? This is not the promised land. What you talking about, Kemet? Kemet? Kemet means rich, black, fertile soil. Fertile, the rich delta fertile of the Nile, supposedly, right? What Nile? What great river? Nile's a Greek word. Nile is a Greek word, meaning great river. Again, the word Mississippi, again, means great river in the Ojibwe, Chippewa language. And it has 7 tributaries, just like the river of Egypt is described to have. Floods and Noahs in America? Yeah, we got all that over here. Popo Vuh. Who plagiarized who? Where's the duplicate? Yeah. Floods and Noahs in America. So again, it's okay. Nobody's attacking Africans because I'm saying it's not the motherland. Don't take that all personal. You guys ain't willing to learn new things? You guys ain't willing to learn new things? There was a reason they disconnected a certain people from their land. And by doing that, disconnected the whole world because these people are very important. Wow. Check out my recent Olmec video. It's just a prelude to a video I'm working on, I really want to do. It's going to be called the out of Olmec theory. Yeah, it might get a little controversial for a lot of people, you know. But at least in those museums and those artifacts, we saw a lot of different phenotypes, right? Something we got to study, something we got to address, right? Again, we got to stop generalizing and thinking people looked a certain way only. And who are the Olmec? What does Olmec really mean? Old Mexican? Did they call themselves that? No. Are they grouping a bunch of people together? Quite possibly. Again, they are not Africans. If Africans were in Mesoamerica, I don't doubt it. But you can't generalize and say the Olmecs are Africans. Chabelle TV. Again, that whole 1993 Pan-African perspective, that's dead. Ivan Van Sertima and all that, they had no proof of these people being African. The only proof they were using, and I read the books, so don't tell me, because I read the books. The only proof they were trying to use was that they were finding so-called black people over here with black features. That doesn't make them African. That was their only correlation. They have no proof. They have no voyages, nothing. I read the books, man. Those books are outdated and they have a Pan-African perspective. Unfortunately, you may feel a certain way about that, but that's just truth. There's actually more of a connection with Asia, with the Olmec, with Asia, not with Africa, with Asians. All right, something we're going to discuss. And again, this is way before any Mongols supposedly came. Supposedly before any Mongols came. I'm glad you tuned in today, Chabelle. You're learning a lot. Learning a lot, man. And it's okay. We can learn from each other. It's okay. We got to stop thinking we got it all figured out. History's a lot deeper. Remember, mysteries, that's my story. My story. Mysteries, my story. There ain't no mysteries. There's no mysteries who the Olmec are. There's no mysteries. They're lying to you. They want you to think it's mysteries. Origin of ball games and rubber making in America. People got mad at me at this video. Can you believe it? They got mad at me, man. So what's my next point? Let's see if we can continue with my point. All right. Now it says here, and again, when I was writing these points, I was like, something I got to address because, and I'm going to be very real about it. I'm going to be very real about it. And I'm glad we got, I don't even know how many people. Okay, we got 470 people tuned in. Thanks for being here right now on your Sunday, spending it with me. So Panther Bamiliki assumes that phenotype is only an African phenotype. You don't want me to show you all the African phenotypes. Do you want me to show you the Kosan people? The Tuareg people? Some of the Berbers? And I'm talking about some of the oldest people in Africa. All right, you just came, man. You just missed the whole thing. Don't come here and get timed out, man. You ain't challenging anything. You're nobody, man. You ain't challenging anything. It's like Tyson trying to fight one of the Logan brothers, man. Are you serious? Now, why would Tyson fight one of the Logan brothers unless it's just for money? All right. And I'm making a point here. I don't need no clout to go debate fools like you, man. Images and pictures don't prove anything. That was the wackest and weakest proof. You just expose your ignorance. You get what I'm saying? Like, you see what they're challenging me with? It's a waste of time. Yo, A Hill, do you see what pictures? They're going to show me a picture, right? And say, yo, that's an African because he looked like people in West Africa. We had all phenotypes here in America. And I just showed him a corn video who the Mande Mandinka, right? Where they were coming from with their corn legends. They were coming from the east. I mean, from the west, sorry, they're on their eastward travels. They were coming from the west on their eastward migration with their corn. How did they get corn? How did West Africans get corn? Tell me straight up right now how West Africans got corn before Columbus. I'll wait. So they must have came here, invented it, their science and everything, their Kemetic science and all that, with Thoth, right? Helping them out, right? With his magic wand, right? And they created corn. Only here in America, right? But then they was like, nah, let's not stay in this beautiful place with all these crops and all these rivers. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. All right. Oh man, sometimes you just gotta do comedy because it's comedy, man. I'm serious. Like, you guys are comedy to me. And people be like, Kurimeo, don't pay attention. Hey, listen, hey, my people, man. I'm a person. Like, yeah, I'm gonna address things, man. And you guys know I don't do this all the time. Sometimes it's necessary, right? It's time for everything. Exactly. Exactly, JB. They be on these hard, man. They be on these hard, man. Like for real. They mad. Yo, shout out again to Cat Williams. You mad at breakfast? You mad at breakfast, huh? They came eastbound. Thank you, Justin. With their corn. They brought their corn with them. Seeing history in reverse. Who invented hockey? Huh? Did you guys know the first hockey teams, the first hockey league was all so-called black people? They invented everything, the slap shot, everything. This was an indigenous game. Of course, it was so-called black people because it was an indigenous game. So-called copper-colored tribes of America. Check out the video. And you mad at me? You talking about Africa, man? American, Amerique. Huh. All right, let's see if we can get to another point here. All right. So they still mad. All right. We're addressing it. They still mad. All right. They're gonna stay mad. They're gonna stay mad. Stay mad, okay? Your opinions, like again, before you leave an opinion today, if you're mad, make sure you have a source or something. You can't challenge me. If you want to challenge me, it won't be today. You have to do a video, show me the sources. All right. Do your video, show us all so we can verify the information. You got to get to my level first, man. Again, why would Tyson fight one of the Logan brothers, man? I don't need that clout. I don't need that I don't need to do entertaining. I don't need to debate fools, honestly. Why would I lower myself to try to level my intelligence with your intelligence, man? Why would I lower myself to that? All right. Because they found Osiris, Osiris statues in El Salvador and Mexico all over. We got them all over here. Osiris was a corn deity. The corn deity, like the corn god from over here. All these people were Westerners, right? In your so-called Egyptian mythology, the Westerners. They were coming from the West, just like the Mandinka. They were coming from the West. Yeah, Westerners. The Westerners. Not West Africa, beyond that. It was very specific. Beyond that. Where did Solon get the story from Plato that he gave to Plato about Atlantis. He got it from an Egyptian so-called priest, and they were very specific. It's way over there. They're older than us. It's way over there. Herodotus is quoted as saying that the ancestors of the Egyptians are from a distant western land where the first humans came from. Right? Let's see, what's the next point? Now, the next point says here, now, I got some racist people. This is not, I got a lot of love for my Mexican followers. Again, this is just like what I was talking about the Moors. There's bad apples. There's bad apples in Costa Rica. There's bad apples everywhere. All right, it's not about nationality, but there is some racist Mexicans that are very mad because I'm showing dark-skinned Indians, right? Or people that don't look like them. So, all right, again, this ain't about trying to make anybody not Indian. If you Indian and you know it and you got your genealogy trace, hey, man, good for you, man, and be proud, man. Let us tell our story. Again, like I told the Pan-Africans, no one's hating on Mexicans or Mexican indigenous people by correcting certain stories or certain history, okay? No, you know, and Mexico is a big place. It has many nations in it. It's not one type of people, especially back in colonial times, all right? The walls and Palenque and Bonham Park, they don't lie. They don't lie, all right? Like this wall right here, this painting right here, they don't lie. I'm just showing this isn't how they painted themselves and drew themselves, you know? So it's not personal. It's not personal. Again, copper colored tribes, many shades, many phenotypes. Do your own genealogy. See who you are. Do your own genealogy. Do your whole genealogy. That goes for you too. All right. You know, a lot of, again, it's the bad apples because it's just emotional people that really not in close to following any indigenous traditions or anything really, because most of the indigenous people got real love. A lot of the real indigenous people from these countries got real love. They're real humble, very spiritual people, you know, right? And it says here, racist Native Americans, they mad because I'm showing dark-skinned Indians. So again, this kind of like the same thing. Don't be mad because we're showing real history. And nobody's saying you might not be Indian. Hey, you got your genealogy done? Good for you. All right. But there is a real history of people getting declassified. There's a real history here of people going through paper genocide. We have the primary sources describing originals peoples all over the Americas. Don't be mad at me. All right. This ain't personal. All right. Again, a lot of these bad apples, because again, most Native Americans, they got a good heart, good spirit, man. You know, it's a lot of these people who are not even in the reservations that they think they're, you know, or they know they are somewhat Native or whatever, American, and they're just really racist, man. A lot of them are just really act like more like Europeans, honestly, than natives. They have a lot of hate. And it's obvious that they don't even know what I look like, as a lot of them say, hey, you go back to Africa, Kurimeo. Like, they don't even know what I look like. I might look just like them. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, the irony, right? It's silliness. It's really silly. And it's unfortunate that I have to, like, man. So a lot of them got these little YouTube channels and they swear that they're bunking me. And, you know, they just, honestly, they're just, again, just like the bad apples in the Moorish community, the bad apples in the Abo community, you know, they're just really just talking smack. They're not really addressing any of the information I present. Nobody's debunking anything. They're just being entertained, and people like entertainment and drama. That's just it, honestly. And they don't represent all Native Americans, all right? They don't, by far. You know, a lot of them, again, they think I'm talking about Africans. That's all they keep saying. And nobody's even said the word African in any of my videos. And like, they're not even paying attention. They just see the cover, or they just assume, they thinking black, like, oh, Africans, they talking about Africans. They're not even paying attention. That's just the hate. That's just the blindness. And again, I'm talking about some of the races, unfortunately, the racist Native Americans. But again, so-called black people treat me the same way as what I was trying to address earlier. Jarvis is a great example. I actually get more, honestly, unfortunately, I get more hate from the so-called black community. Fortunately. And I understand why, though. You get what I'm saying? And again, it's not about how I look. The information has nothing to do about me personally, but you can't exclude me when I know who I am in my genealogy. A lot of this is part of my history too. So don't be saying we. Why are you talking about we, us? Why are you teaching about us? What do you mean us? Who's us? Show me your genealogy. Show me you might be a black German. I'm not a black German. I don't think I am. I haven't found that in my genealogy. So what do you mean us? Who's us? Who's us? Serious question here. All right. So let me see. Next point. And again, people who just hate on anybody just based on looks, just because they don't look like them, that's just silly. You got to be better than that, honestly. I mean, it's hard. But, for people that's been, this, like a part of racism, stereotypes, paper genocide, people judging on who you are based on your complexion, not your intelligence or who you really were. We don't have to be the same way. Don't let's not go to the other extreme and be the same way and start pointing fingers at people like now you're on a high pedestal either. You gotta have your ego in check. And be proud. I'm not saying don't be proud. Be proud. Hey, not everybody's on the same level of knowledge or want to be. Some people just want to choose to be ignorant. There's no need to be focusing on those people and always mad at certain specific group of people. Like if you don't really pay attention to them, they will never be in your part of your life. Like honestly, if you're only focused on that, then that's what you're only going to be focused on and what you're going to see, and you're going to be mad all day. Again, shout out to Cat Williams. You mad at breakfast? What are you mad at exactly? You mad at breakfast? Balance and understanding is overstanding, That's all I'm saying. But people will be people, and that's my whole point. People are people. It's not based on complexion. Even in colonial times, it wasn't about complexion. People are people. People will be people. People could be good. People can be evil. Doesn't matter what nation they're from, what color their skin is. Just because you were so-called black don't mean you weren't the conquistador doing bad things. And just because somebody is so-called white doesn't mean they were the conquistador only doing bad things. They might have been the so-called slave, indentured servant, who eventually, because of his lighter complexion, had better benefits, was able to benefit from it if they were smart. Yes, that happened. And again, are we going to draw and we're going to stay focused on what happened? Or are we just going to understand what happened, why, and fix it and not repeat it? What happens with history when we don't learn from it? What happens in history when you don't learn from it? You're doomed to repeat it. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to correct all that stuff. Yeah, that's fine. The whole world belongs to everybody now. But we're talking about specific things. When we're talking about there's a source for everything. There's a real story behind origins. There's a true cradle. There's a true cradle of life, honestly. There was a true promised land, what they call the promised land. It's not like no mythical, fantasy place. You got to understand what they mean by promised. But either way, there's specifics, and that's what we try to address. And it says here, one of my other points, a lot of so-called white people, they mad because I'm showing many of the colonists and founding fathers were dark skinned. Ooh. So, it goes 360 now. So I got so many groups hating on me personally, attacking me. So don't worry, don't feel bad if you're hating on me. You ain't alone. Get in line. Take a number. Get in line. We'll address you soon. Or don't waste your time. You're just gonna make yourself foolish. All right. Judah. So they mad at me. Yeah, a lot of them are mad at me because I'm taking their whole history, right? Like that's how they say it. That's how they see it. What they don't want to see is that the history was taken from a specific people first. So nobody ever had a problem. Nobody ever had a problem when they were showing us whitewashed images of people, when they were making everything white, everybody white, everything good white, and everything bad black. Everything slave black, everything savage black. Right? Nobody had a problem with that. But now that we're showing real images, people got problems. Now that we're describing these people the real way and who they really were, now people got problems. Right? So if you fall under that category again, you got your genealogy done, then good for you. This don't apply to you. And if you do have your genealogy done and you do go back to these specific people that we know are colored people, then you need to rethink of who you are. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna drop a bomb right now. A lot of so-called white people, right, don't even know they descend from so-called black people. A lot of black people passed for white. They stayed marrying so-called white. Their kids stayed marrying white, and eventually they were white. Forget who you were. A lot of the so-called white people that go real far back in the USA is because they descend from colored people. Because most of them, and they know what I'm talking about, the ones that have done the genealogy, are going to go right back to Ellis Island or disappear in the Midwest somewhere in Mormon country. Right where the orphan trains ended up. I'm just saying. All right. So, again, I'm not hating on so-called white people or trying to take because I'm correct in history. Again, that goes for you too. We just correct in history, embrace it. Okay, it's okay. Let go. Now, also in Europe, I got so-called white Europeans mad at me because I'm showing original dark-skinned Europeans. They mad at me because I'm showing them the family crest, right? Because I'm showing them the family crest. Hold on, let me see if we can just show an example of what I'm talking about. I showed one earlier. All right. So they mad at me because I'm showing, family crest and real history, right? Real statues, right? Real statues. What do you mean? Why you got the statues there? Why you mad at me? More King, progenitor of the Habsburgs bloodline, the Habsburgs. Do you know who the Habsburgs are? You talking about Charles V? He got that bloodline. Huh? Are you mad at me? Shout out to Cat Williams. Again, you mad at breakfast? What you mad at? What you mad at exactly? What you mad at exactly, huh? I didn't build none of this. I didn't draw this. I'm not from the coat of arms of Sweet Cow. Sweet Cow. That's almost sound like I cow. You see cow? Oh man, that can be interpreted so many ways. All right. Do you remember your family crest? All right. Again, For all you guys out there like Jarvis, all right? Show me your genealogy, Jarvis. Make sure you don't got no black German Moors in your genealogy talking about you're an Indian. Talking about why you talking about us? Who's us? Who's us, Jarvis? Tell me who's us. Who's your us, Jarvis? Who's your us? Because not everybody's us is the same. All right? And that's okay. That's not the point of my videos, to separate or compete. All right? History is not personal. It's just history. Truth ain't personal, and truth don't got no color. It just is. All right? It just is. It just is. All right? They not only erase you from America, they erase you from Europe and Asia. They erase you all over the planet. Right? And again, these are not Africans just because they look so-called black, just like the Olmec. All right? Don't tell me these are Africans because he looked like somebody, you know, in West Africa. You're not understanding what we're trying to show here. Again. All right, so that was some of the points I wanted to address today. I mean, I don't know if you guys had any questions. Start with the orphan trains. All right, you know what? I'm gonna show y'all something. All right, this is, all right. I'm gonna show y'all something right here, though. They ain't trying to give it to me. Hold on. Let's get specific. All right. Yeah, that's the one I want to see. Okay. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the infant or baby incubators that were all over the world fairs. Now, as it says here, infant incubators with living babies. Right? Coney Island, New York. Now, you got to understand, they did this for almost 100 years. The World's Fairs were being thrown from like the 1840s all the way to like almost the 1940s, 1920s, 30s. I don't know when's the last one they had. I think the 30s. They were doing this. Doing what, Kurimeo? They were growing babies in incubators. Right? Hold on. Let me put up the speed a little bit more. All right. This is one of their main guys right here. Talk about Halloween scary shit. Yep. This is mad scientist kind of stuff right here. Trick or treat. Trick or treat. Look how happy he is holding these babies. They were growing babies in incubators. Right away, what do you see? What is the obvious thing about these babies? Can you tell me? There's right, Bara. That's right, Bara. That's right. All right. There's no so-called black babies. Whose babies are these? Whose babies are this? Prove it to me. Whose babies are this? Prove it to me right now. Prove it to me. Whose babies are these? Baby incubators with living babies. One scene you never forget. Once you see them, you'll never forget. Whose babies are all these in all these World's Fairs, farms, baby incubators? Whose babies are these? Whose babies are you? You all grown up now. All grown up. That was a long time ago, right? Whose babies are you? And again, this ain't personal. We're just asking questions. Again, they did this for almost 100 years. Again, This is a future video. We're cheating a little bit right here. We went off topic, but it's all good. It's all good. It's only because you guys are tuned in. Little treat here. The incubator babies of Coney Island. Huh? Coney Island baby incubators. They mass producing babies, people. They mass producing babies. Why? Now the story. Oh look, they got a dark skinned person right here working for them. Interior showing the incubators, babies, and nurses. Now the story they tell you behind these incubators is that these doctors were helping premature moms or premature babies, right? That's the story they tell you. Okay, show me one real one. Show me. Prove it. All of them were. Prove it to me that they were all premature. Where's the parents? It was so many years. Why would people be giving up their kids to be exhibited? This is an exhibition. They were traveling with these living babies in incubators. They were in the world's fairs. What were they doing in these world fairs, really? Future videos. I know you guys are into the mud flood and all that. You think I'm not just because I haven't mentioned it? Trust me, I be in the background learning, watching everybody. Watching everybody. You know, they tell you again, they give you stories behind these babies. There's no proof of it. There's no proof of it. Look at that. That's the guy. Look at that. That's going to be your little brother. This man was like most likely spreading his sperm all over the place. Wow. You know, like he was German and everything. You know, what do you think they got the idea, the Nazis and all that? All right. Diploma issued by Baby Incubators, New York's World Fair 1940. This is certified that baby Catherine Ash received its start in life at the Baby Incubators Institution at the New York World's Fair in the summer of 1939. I didn't never saw something like this. They're telling you straight up they were born there. Where's the parent? Who's the parent? Where's the parent's signature? I'm being real right now. 1898. Where's the parent's signature? Oh no, it's 1940, but where's the parent's signature? Is this a birth certificate? What is this? What do you mean baby incubators? Diploma. Huh? We're on another level right now. Oh, we got into the taboo right now. Oh, conspiracy theories. Oh, perfect song too. Let's go. Yo, shout out to Viso Breeze. Talk about a horrible Halloween. Ha 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 ha. And I know a lot of you like, nah, come on, what? Wait, what? And a lot of you like, oh, no wonder. Oh, I knew it. Yo, that. Hey, trust me. Oh, it's about to get interesting, man. Let's see how it goes, right? In these YouTube streets, because they might get mad at me for this one. They might get mad at me for this one. But I'm just showing history, fair use. Fair use. We're just talking about education here, historical references. All right. So we got the babies, right? They had to have grown up, right? All these babies grew up. What happened to these babies? Now, my other theory is, right now, I'll call them theories, right? Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. All right. All right. Now we got the orphan trains, right? We got orphan trains, right? What's an orphan train, Kurimeo? Well, all you got to do is put orphan train in Google and you'll get a whole bunch of information, right? Get a whole bunch of information and images. Again, what do you notice about these orphan trains? The children. What do you notice about them? Huh? What do you notice about them? Where'd all these little kids come from? Where's all their parents? How they got all these little orphans running around New York? What's going on here? Wait, Coney Island. Wait, isn't that in New York? Coney Island? Wait, World's Fair Coney Island, the diploma we just saw. Wait, isn't that in New York? What happened to all these little orphans? And where did they come from? And what happened to them? Orphan train, CBS News. Huh? It's about to get real deep with the research, right? Again, man. Shot in the dark, orphan train offers glimpse into forgotten history. Forgotten history. Where all these orphans come from, people? Can anybody explain to me? Now, this is what was going on. So they were being sent all over the Midwest, all over the states. They were actually populating towns with these kids. I'm not kidding. Children without homes. A number of the children brought from New York are still without homes. Friends from the country, please call and see them. Merchants and farmers and friends generally are requested to give publicity to the above and much obliged. All right. That's an ad. That's an ad. Hold up. Let me show you another one. Wanted, Homes for Orphan Children, a company of orphan children under the auspices of the Children's Aid Society of New York, will be in Schuler Friday, May 22nd. All right. You know what they were literally doing? You just come and grab whoever you want. You just come and grab whoever you want. The one, oh, I like that one. Now, you would find videos on YouTube regarding some of these people's stories and how they were abused, how they went through a lot of this, bad treatment by these adopted parents. And all right. Oh man, open your door, it says here. Helpless children appeal to all right thinking people and appeal to you. Have you not a vacant chair, a hungry spot in your heart that you can fill with one of these children waiting at the Kentucky Children's Home Society for someone to give them a real home? The right of every child in our state. All right. They were literally giving them off, giving them away. Literally, man. Now, don't you think that might include some so-called black people come, hey, especially ones that can't have kids, are like, hey, let's go grab, we need workers. Hey, we need workers. Let's go grab like 5 or 10 of them so they can help us work the farm. Wouldn't they take their names and everything? Wouldn't they be like adopted kids? Think about that. Think about that. Who was the real more men? In these states in the Midwest? What happened to all the colored people that were there? And I've done some genealogies with so-called white people, and it's crazy because they end up right there where these trains ended up. And I'm like, whoa, okay, how come it stops there all of a sudden? All right. So, all right, you have mad incubator babies, right? They eventually had to grow up, right? What happened to all of them? Then you got all of a sudden a bunch of orphans all over the place, like literally all over the place. And look at all of them, the complexions. I mean, come on, do you guys see the obvious? There's a great video on YouTube I saw one day that just like blew my mind. How literally, like a guy was showing how they were literally giving these people identity, like these kids identities, giving them, surnames and everything. And, the story goes on. She was Minnesota's last survivor of orphan trains, abused and never adopted. She lived 101 years to tell her story. All right? Orphan train survivor. Orphan train children. All right? Hell yeah. Yeah. Now, again, we're not going to generalize, but this is a deep history here we're going to be discussing soon. All right? This has to be addressed, and this is going to tie in a lot of things, I believe. And it all goes into what you guys love about the mud flood and all that. It fits right in. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's presentation, on Tituba. Again, reminding everybody, what witch? What are you talking about, witch? She was an Arawak Indian. And I wanted to also address some of those things we talked about, those topics. And just address that. If you were here to catch it, good. If you weren't, they're going to continue to troll. But I hope they heard. I hope a lot of people hear what I had to say about those things, since a lot of people got opinions all the time. All right, so hope you guys enjoy it again. Just going to go out with some music, some more images. All right. Some more images, more and more war. Oh man, everybody's on trial. You think everybody's on trial. Show me your genealogy. I don't know how other way to say it, before you start pointing your fingers at people. This is the real history, or my story to be told. Mystery, my story to be told. And don't take it personal just because I'm telling that story. Don't take it personal at all. Shout out to Bezo Breeze, yeah, with the beats. Like to remind everybody, if you like to support what I do, so I can make this like a daily thing, so we can get this info out. I can focus on this. Have the time to research the sources to be able to get books. You can support me as a Patreon. My Patreon link is in the description of this video. And I got great books and magazines there, like this one right here. I share monthly new things as appreciation I show for the support, just in case you like to support what I do. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you can't, no worries. I'm going to continue to do what I do either way. Uh, 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 yeah, uh, uh, get him, yeah, whoa. Bezo Breeze, he went wild on that one, man. Yeah, just some more. Whoa. Oh, yo, Bezo Breeze so smooth. Yo, he keep it smooth.
Breeze 3000.
Man, Bezo, yo, you killed it on that one, man. Yeah. Just going over some images here, you know. Again, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. One thing I forgot to address today, which I just remembered, my Wakanda video recently. Now, I just want to be honest with you. A lot of it is from clips from my older Black Panther video. So I took out the Wakanda part of the video and did a separate video just to refresh everybody. So it's not new. It's not like, oh, I'm glad people are finally talking. No, we've been talking about this. We've been told you. I've been debunked your out of Africa theories. This video is actually my Black Panther videos from like 4 years ago. I thought with my corn videos and my Black Panther videos that it was over, really. Honestly, they couldn't come back after those. Honestly, they couldn't come back after that. But everybody ignored it, right? They just focused on talking smack, like talking about me, talking about other stuff, entertaining people, keep their minds busy away from the information. because they know if people come watch the information, they're gonna know what's up. All right. So it's silly when people saying Wakanda, like they get mad. They getting mad, really mad. They're talking about, but Lakota's still African. Like they're telling me all nonsense, all this crazy nonsense stuff, man. Wakanda is a Native American word. It's an American indigenous word for the great spirit, the creator. Wakang, Tanka, the great, great Tanka, the great spirit, the creator. Wakanda. Stop trying to hijack American culture. All emotional and stuff. You're not saying anything. You're just babbling. Don't you realize what you're saying? You're making yourself look foolish. Like it's not even disputable. It's not in a debate. You think it's a debate. Nobody can debate this. It's real. It's real. Jaguar warriors, Black Panthers, that was Black Jaguars. We dress like Black Jaguar. That was all here. Nobody's trying to hijack anything or steal anything. And just because words sound the same or similar over there, show me the history behind that. What are you talking about? You're just babbling. Babylon, 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 Babylon. Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever. Shout out to the Chowan, the Whipamog natives, the people, their descendants. A lot of people contacted me after I did this video and let me know they were part of this and they got the whole history. So it's great to confirm, be able to confirm and, you know, acknowledge that people are, you know, finally getting recognized, you know, not because of me. You know, I was reading articles that were already written before I did a, you know, video. But I'm glad I was able to at least make it available or bring it out to a wider audience, right? And so shout out to the Chowans. All right, all right. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. You know, the presentation. Have a great evening with your family and loved ones. Thanks for tuning in to all the real ones. Thanks for all the support, all the ones who support me. Again, if you're new, try to go back on the presentations. There's so many now. Yeah, the information's out there now. There's no excuses. Like, address the information. This ain't personal. I know you guys got a lot to say and a lot of opinions, and I want to challenge everything. So do it. Don't wait on me. Go ahead and do your videos, do the presentation, send me the sources. Let's verify. Let's get specific, source by source. All right. Again, thanks for tuning in. It was fun being here with you guys live. I hadn't done this in a while. Look for some good new information coming my way, right? I got so many books and all this information to share with you guys. I'm not kidding. I just don't know. I'm like, how do I put it all together? Here we go. Shout out to all the scholars out there. Drop Nation, Con Drop, Nine Spiral, Anu, Kyowa, Wanagi, Opamiha. Yo, JB, shout out to JB. Hey, shout out to all the moderators, all the real ones, all the subscribers who've been here for years. You know who you are. I see you in the chat. I'm scrolling right now. I see you guys. All right. Shout out. Everybody shows the love and respect. Big Judah, shout out. Ahal, all the Hebrew brothers, and at least those teaching, basically what I'm saying, we are the book, you are the book. A lot of great drop coming from Big Judah recently with that's what I was taking with the Irish thing. I'm telling you, that's why I was trying to do the indenture servitude videos and let you know that these indentures were so-called black, like these Europeans, because it's about to get deep. Who were these people? A lot of them, they weren't all just Moors and Sephardic Jews. You get what I'm saying? A lot of them were already originally in these ancient lands in Ireland and Scotland and England. And a lot of them might have been coming from ancient America before that. All right. So again, shout out to everybody's with the drop, and everybody who follows me has channels that I go watch a lot of those too, that most people don't know, but I'm watching in the background. Trust me. And everybody in the indigenous community as well, an Indian country. Shout out to Phoenix for, hey man, I respect what she did and said, on my behalf. She's real about it, and I respect that. And I got no beef with anybody that's never done me wrong. So why would I? And even if I did, again, I don't do this videos, and I don't, dwell on it. I just let it be. And sometimes I do videos like today, and we address it, with sources and information. So shout out to all the real people who got love out there. Her cousin Tasha She and everybody else doing big things, and I'm trying to actually be about respect and love and and understanding. And again, doesn't mean I promote everything everybody does. People are people. So if nobody does wrong to me, I got no problem with them. If they're respectful with me, I'm respectful with them. All right. So shout out to everybody that tuned in today. Thank you for being here. Have a fun rest of your evening. Don't eat too much candy. Don't be eating just your children's candy now. Come on. Don't be eating your kids' candy and chocolates and all that. All right. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid. Halloween, huh? Another Halloween, right? Again, this was Tituba, the Arawak Indian, the so-called witch, right? So-called witch. She wasn't a witch at all. Indigenous. We love everybody. We love the whole world. If you come with love, I love you. If you come with love, I love you. It's not about where you're from, honestly. All right. Not really about where you're from. I respect everybody. I grew up around many different nations, growing up in Boston. So, and I'm glad I was able to learn and be less prejudiced and less stereotypical, and just learn from different people, man. Like come out of the hood and stuff, come out of that mentality that is just, what you see right there. That's not the whole world. There's a bigger world travel, look out, research, study, use the internet for something good. Don't just waste your time watching videos, you know, blogging. People just blogging. Hey, I do it too. I watch people just blogging. Hey, but there's a time for everything again. You know, just don't get hooked on it. You know, use the internet against them too. Don't let them use it against you, right? Don't let it consume your whole time. Do something productive with it, is what I mean. All right. So much love and respect to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Love y'all. Let me see. Let's go with something. I'll just go with this. But yeah, thank you. With the drum. Oh, perfect. With the drum. Feel the drum. Hey ya, 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 hawa, hey ya, hawa, hey ya, hawa, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Yeah. Yeah. Down. Yeah. Get up and dance. Get up and dance. Yeah. Yeah. Hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, 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 hey ya. Hey. Wah, wah. Hey ya, 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 hey ya.